hit subscribe. Subscribe to my guy, Uncle D. Tell him Big Bad sent you.
Dennis Spurling. I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas. An advocate for black men, largely because I am a black man. I'm a black father. I have black sons. Hey, man, I do what I do.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the broadcast. Shout out to Mr. 43TX. Shout out to everybody who is here with me today. My name is Dennis Spurling, and I would like to welcome you to the Dennis Spurling podcast. The name of this podcast is Divided Black America Exposed by Karmelo Anthony and Cyrus Carmack-Belton. Now, undoubtedly, many of you have seen me over the past couple weeks discussing Karmelo Anthony's verdict with my good friend Willie D of the Geto Boys. And as you can see, it's been highly contested. A lot of people agree with Willie D. A lot of people agree with me. And a lot of people disagree with both of us in a very vehement manner, very angry. Somebody typed angry in the chat room. You know, a lot of people came to my page because of that conversation and they became subscribers. And I'd like to welcome you all to this page. And, you know, so I want to, you know, whether you came here because you agree with me or disagree with me, wanted to hear more, wanted to challenge me, I'm glad you're here. And this page isn't for people who just want to hear what makes them feel good. I'm not going to make you feel good on this page. Not all the time. I promise you I'm going to be accurate. I promise you I'm going to tell the truth. Okay, but this page is for people who want to deal with facts, law, history as written, culture as accurately interpreted, and the uncomfortable truth. That's why they call me the Blizzard King, because I tell the cold hard truth. I've been doing it for years. Another thing you all should realize is that I got to 100,000 subscribers without any viral videos, which means the people who've been here have been getting a steady dose of truth and accuracy for a long time. Okay, and so this is the first time any of my videos have gone viral, and it's really not my video, it's Willie D's video. It's a controversial subject, and I just went on there to do what I normally do, and that's just speak the truth. Now, let me explain what's really happening. And this Karmelo Anthony verdict isn't just about Karmelo Anthony. It isn't just about Austin Metcalf. It isn't about Willie D, and it certainly isn't just about Dennis Spurling. Okay, what you're watching is the great Black American divide being exposed in real time. This case has forced Black people to look at two different ways of thinking. Black people, you know, and see, one way of thinking says the system has always been unfair to Black people. So when a Black teenager is accused of killing a white teenager, I'm automatically suspicious, right? That's how. And then you got the other way of thinking says, yes, the system has been unfair to Black people, but we still have to look at the facts and the law and the evidence and the consequences. And that's the divide. And that divide is bigger than this one case. On one side, you've got Willie D. Willie D is speaking for a part of Black America that sees this case through history, distrust, race, and anger. Okay. And I'm not going to sit here and act like that position came out of nowhere. Black people have seen police lie. We've seen prosecutors overcharge. We've seen judges get it wrong. We've seen juries get it wrong. We've seen Black defendants treated more harshly than white defendants. So when Willie D says Black people don't trust the system, that's not crazy. That's coming from real history and real lived experience. But here's why I'm different. I'm Black too. I know the history too. I understand the distrust too, but I'm still going to look at the law. I'm still going to look at the facts. I'm still going to look at the evidence, and I'm still going to tell Black people the truth, even when the truth doesn't make us feel good. Because see, if we don't tell our children the truth, the courtroom will. If we don't tell our sons the truth, the prison system will. If we don't teach them how the law really works, they'll learn it the hard way after it's too late. So, you know, when I talk about modern Black middle class and upper middle class values, I'm not just throwing words around. Let's be very specific. Pew Research defines middle income households as households making between 2/3 and double the national median income adjusted for household size. So for a 3-person household, that means that roughly $61,000 to $183,000 dollars a year. Okay, that's the middle class range I'm talking about. And when I say upper middle class values, I'm talking about people who are above that range or moving toward that range through education, marriage, property ownership, business ownership, professional works, stable family structures. I'm talking about Black people who are lawyers, doctors, teachers, nurses, engineers, business owners, truck company owners. I'm talking about real estate investors, police officers, firefighters, accountants, managers. I'm talking about skills trades people like lumberjacks, HVAC, plumbers, electricians. The fastest growing group of millionaires in America are blue collar workers. So shout out to all the blue collar workers. Those are the trades people I'm talking about. And I know I missed a few welders, especially the offshoremen. I'm talking about people who've got mortgages, car notes, retirement accounts, children who are in college, children in private school, and families they're trying to protect. And that's and here's where that matters. The Black community isn't the same place that we were in the 1960s, and the 1970s, or even the 2000s. See, Pew reports that in 2000, only 14.5% of Black adults 25 and older held bachelor's degrees. By 2024, that number is almost doubled. Now you have 27.7% of Black people who hold Black bachelor degrees. And that means that millions more Black people have college degrees now than they did a generation ago. And that changes how people think. It changes how you see the world. Okay? It changes how people vote. It changes how people raise children. It changes how people talk about crime. It changes how people look at responsibility. You understand what I'm saying? It changes how people look at the justice system. You want a little bit more justice when you're riding around in that fancy foreign car that's paid for. You want a little bit more, a few police officers, more police officers in the community when you got that $500,000 house and all that expensive furniture, don't you? Okay, doesn't mean that you trust the system blindly. It means they understand that emotion alone isn't enough. And that's why this case has exposed such a deep split. A lot of Black people still look at every racial case involving a Black plaintiff or a Black defendant or a Black victim or a white victim versus a white defendant or a Black defendant. They still look at it through that racial glass. Okay? They look at through that lens of protest culture. Somebody type protest culture in the chat room. Somebody type protest culture in the chat room. They call it counterculture. Call it protest culture. And that way of thinking became very popular after the 1960s. It says the system is racist. So every outcome that hurts Black people must be viewed with suspicion first. And again, I understand that, but there's another Black tradition that's older than that. There's an older Black American tradition that believed in discipline, marriage, education, church, business, ownership, land, property, self-control, respectability, hard work, service, patriotism. And see, that tradition didn't mean Black people were weak. It didn't mean Black people accepted racism. It meant Black people understood that you had to build power, protect your name, protect your family, and stay out of situations that could destroy your future. And we need to be honest about what changed. See, I want y'all to listen now. And again, I always tell my people, all you folks who are new here, if you learn something, you should earn something. You don't owe me anything. Matter of fact, I'm here because I enjoy doing this and I enjoy speaking to people. If you want to contribute to the Super Chat, Cash App, and the PayPal, that's fine. But if you learn something, okay, this is not doing you any benefit, maybe you don't need to be here. If I'm not saying something you wish you could say and can't say because you're not in the position I'm in, maybe you did learn something, or at least the people around you learn. Play it real loud next to their ear. Now, again, we need to be honest. Some things have changed, okay? The census data shows that in the 1970s, 35.6% of Black men had never been married. By 2020, that number had jumped to 51.4% for, you understand? So it's a lot of Black men that never been married. So marriage is kind of going out the window. For Black women that never been married, it went from 27% in 1970 to 47.5% in 2020. And that's not a small change. That's a major cultural shift. And I'm not saying marriage alone solves everything. I'm absolutely not saying that. I'm saying every married household, and I'm not saying every married household is good or every unmarried household is bad. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying family structure matters. Discipline matters. Fathers matter. Mothers matter. Stable homes matter. Standards matter. And when those things break down, the entire community feels it. So when I talk about the divide between Willie D's position and my position, I'm not saying Willie D isn't Black enough. I absolutely not saying that, brother. Fifth Ward. I'm saying I'm certainly not saying I know better than him. Okay, I'm saying we're speaking from two different Black worldviews. Willie D is speaking from the worldview that says the system is against us. I'm standing with the Black kid, no matter what. And I'm speaking from the worldview that says I'm standing with Black people by telling Black children the truth about before they end up in prison. And that's not the same thing. Now let's bring it back to Karmelo Anthony. The public reporting says Karmelo Anthony was convicted of murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison for this fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at this Frisco track meet. The defense argued self-defense. The jury rejected self-defense. The reporting also says that the case became controversial because Anthony is Black. Metcalf was white, and no Black jurors were seated on the jury. So yes, race is part of the public conversation. I'm not ignoring that. I'm not pretending that doesn't matter. But race being part of the conversation doesn't mean race answers the legal questions. And the legal questions, number one question wasn't, is Karmelo Black? The legal question wasn't, was Austin white? The legal question wasn't, do Black people trust the system? The legal question was whether Karmelo Anthony was legally justified in using deadly force. And that's the question people keep trying to skip over. They want to stop at that. They want to stop at Austin put his hands on him. But the law doesn't stop there. The law asks whether deadly force was immediately necessary. The law asks whether the response was reasonable. The law asks whether this was a situation where pulling a knife and stabbing another teenager in the chest made legal sense. And that's where a lot of people get lost. They think self-defense means if somebody touches me, I can do whatever I want in response. That's not the law. They think no duty to retreat means they don't have a duty to think. That's not the law either. You can have no duty to retreat and still be guilty of murder. You can be touched first and still respond with too much force. You can be scared and still make an unreasonable decision. You can be Black, you can feel threatened, you can feel disrespected, you can still do something that sends you to prison for decades. And that's the truth Black boys need to hear. They don't need adults lying to them for applause. They don't need celebrities telling them every fight is racial. They don't need people on the internet telling them that being disrespected gives them the right to escalate. They need somebody to say, walk away if you can. Somebody type walk away. They need somebody to say your pride isn't worth your freedom. They need somebody to say your emotions can't control your emotions can't control your hands. They need somebody to say if you carry a weapon, you better understand one bad decision can turn you from a student into a defendant. And let me be clear, that message isn't anti-Black. That message is pro-Black survival. Okay? I'm not trying to help the prosecution. I'm not trying to defend white people. I'm not trying to keep Black boys. All I'm trying to do is keep young Black men alive and free. I'm trying to keep Black families from sitting in courtrooms crying. And I'm trying to keep Black mothers from visiting their sons in prison. I'm trying to keep Black fathers from burying their children and watching their sons get sentenced. I'm trying to tell the truth before the system gets the chance to teach the lesson the hard way. That's why this debate with Willie D matters. It put two Black viewpoints on screen at the same time. One side said, don't trust the system, so I'm suspicious of the verdict. The other side said, don't blindly trust the system either, but I'm not going to ignore the evidence and the law just because the defendant is Black. Both of those views come from the Black experience. But only one of those views teaches our children how to survive in the world that actually exists. Because here's the bottom line. Karmelo Anthony isn't going home because people on YouTube think the jury got it wrong. He isn't going home because celebrities are mad. He isn't going home because people say it was self-defense on social media. He was convicted of murder. He was sentenced to 35 years. He's appealing, but right now, that's the reality. And if we're serious about helping Black children, we can't wait until the sentence to start telling the truth. This case exposed something bigger than one verdict. It exposed the fact that Black America doesn't speak with one voice anymore. Some Black people are still locked in the protest first mindset, where every racial conflict becomes a system versus us. The other Black people are moving back toward older Black American values. Somebody type FBA in the chat room. Education, marriage, family, discipline, self-control, emotional control, faith, home ownership, business ownership, law and order, personal responsibility. And that doesn't mean we're ignoring racism. It was much worse back then, and they still exhibited those things. And that doesn't mean we trust everybody in power. That doesn't mean we stop fighting injustice. It means we stop confusing racial loyalty with legal blindness. And see, real Black leadership isn't just telling Black people what they want to hear. And you already know, I'm not going to do that. Not over here. See, real Black leadership is telling people what they need to hear. Real Black leadership says, yes, racism is real, but consequences are real too. Real Black leadership says, yes, the system can be unfair, but bad decisions can still destroy your life. See, that's courage. We love our children, but loving them means correcting them before the world punishes them. So when people ask why this Karmelo verdict has caused so much division, shout out to Afro Thunder. Thank you for being the first person to contribute to the super chat. But again, people want to know why this is called the answers. Look, why does this cause so much division? Willie D gave the voice to the anger, and I gave the voice to the standard. Willie D spoke to the pain, and I spoke to the consequences. Willie D spoke from distrust. I spoke from law, facts, and survival. And now Black America has to decide what message we're going to teach our children. Are we going to teach them that every racial conflict is a green light to react? Or are we going to teach them that discipline, self-control, and judgment can be the difference between going home and going to prison? It's your decision. Now, there's another controversial conversation that took place a few weeks back. Let's talk about the Cyrus Carmack-Belton case. Remember that? That really had us going because, see, that case proved exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of people are upset because Rick Chow was acquitted. And if you only listen to the emotional reaction online, you think this was another case where an all-white jury let a non-black man kill a black child and walk away. Somebody type all white in the chat room. Somebody type all white jury in the chat room, right? That's what we believe, right? But see, that's not what happened. The jury wasn't all white. According to the reporting on the jury makeup, the jury included 3 black men and 2 black women. Think about that. Now, there were 3 white women and 2 white men and 2 jurors of other backgrounds, but there were 3 black men and 2 black women on that jury in South Carolina that acquitted Rick Chow. Some of y'all would say, oh, those people are sellouts, right? That's what you would say. You don't even know these people. So let's break that down. I want you to understand, because I said something the other day to Willie D. I said in one of the conversations, I said, an all-black jury would have convicted Karmelo Anthony. He said, no, bro. I'm like, yes, they would. Because I talk to you all day. These are the subjects that I talk about all day. I know just what these black folk are thinking. So it doesn't surprise me that 5 black jurors, those 5 black people from that area, shout out to Brian Turner, and I want to put it in context for you. 5 black jurors sat in that jury in South Carolina. 5 black people from that area heard the evidence, listened to the witnesses, reviewed the facts, took the law from the judge, went into the jury room and voted not guilty for Rick Chow. And remember, in a murder case, the verdict has to be unanimous. For all my good spellers, only people who can spell good, type unanimous in the chat room. Unanimous verdict, 12. And this is not my opinion. And the United States Supreme Court dealt with the case Ramos v. Louisiana, and that was a Louisiana case where a man was convicted of second-degree murder by a 10-2 verdict. They did do all kind of crazy stuff in Louisiana. So over there, they weren't even getting unanimous decision. Everybody said, this is wrong. You got to have a unanimous. They said, we can do what we want to do over here in Louisiana. I actually went to school at Southern University Law Center in Louisiana. I took the bar, passed, I got a perfect 9 out of 9 score first time I took this. So I'm very versed in Louisiana law. But anyway, the Supreme Court said no, in a serious criminal case like murder, the Constitution requires a unanimous jury verdict. And that means all 12 jurors have to agree before they can be a lawful conviction. And practically speaking, the same thing matters for an acquittal. If one juror refuses to agree, there's no unanimous verdict. And the result is a hung jury. So in the Rick Chow case, all it took was one of those black jurors to say, no, I can't vote not guilty. One black juror could have stopped the acquittal, but that didn't happen. Every juror agreed, including the 5 black jurors. All it would have taken was one holdout. One person could have stopped the acquittal, but nobody did. So whatever you think about the verdict, you have to deal with that fact. Let's deal with reality here. Somebody type, shout out to Brian Turner, shout out to House Martin. Let's deal with that. I want y'all to hear something. Now, I know some people don't want to deal with this. They want to skip right past the fact that 5 black jurors acted like this was just some white racist system doing what it always does. But that explanation doesn't work over here on this channel. We dig deeper into it. See, this wasn't 5 white people forcing 5 black people to go along. This was a unanimous jury that included 5 black jurors. So the question becomes, what did those 5 black jurors see? What did they hear? What did they understand about the case that a lot of people online don't want to deal with? And I'm going to tell you what I think happened. I think those jurors may have not liked Rick Chow. They may have not liked the fact that he and his son chased Cyrus for 130 yards. They may have not liked the fact that Cyrus was shot, according to his lawyer, not in the back, but in the side. But still, he wasn't facing Rick Chow. They may have not liked the way the whole thing started over a false shoplifting accusation, including some 99-cent bottles of water. But see, they also had to deal with one fact that changed the whole case. Cyrus Carmack-Belton, a 14-year-old boy, had a gun. Think about that. Where is it legal in the United States of America for a 14-year-old child, unaccompanied by an adult, to be walking around with a semi-automatic handgun that he was basically, apparently, flashing online the night before on his social media page? Where is that? What law, what state is that legal? Nowhere. Now, Andy Chow, who was Rick Chow's son, was the only witness who saw what happened up close. Bias or not, he testified under oath. Cyrus pointed it at him. Maybe he was wrong, maybe he wasn't. But that was the testimony. That's what came into court. And I'm telling you, once the fact came into courtroom, this stopped being a simple unarmed black child shot by a store owner case. That gun changed everything. That 14-year-old with the semi-automatic gun, it changed everything. You don't have to like it, but that's the reality. Now, let me be very clear. The prosecution argued that Cyrus didn't threaten anyone with the gun. He still had it. The jury heard that. The prosecution argued the gun fell during the chase. We get that. The jury heard that. The prosecution argued that Rick Chow acted out of anger, not self-defense. The jury heard that. But the defense argued something very different. The defense argued that Cyrus had a loaded semi-automatic pistol and he pointed that gun at Rick Chow's son, Andy Chow. And once the defense made that argument, the jury had to decide whether the state had proven murder beyond a reasonable doubt. Listen to me. Did the defendant come up, did the prosecution come up with another eyewitness who said, oh no, he didn't point it at him? No. All they had was a testimony from Andy Chow saying he pointed the gun at me, and that created a reasonable doubt. That's the standard. It wasn't Rick Chow's job to prove he was innocent. It was the state's job to prove him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And they couldn't get past that reasonable doubt because there was no evidence. And apparently those 12 jurors, 5 of which were black, decided the state didn't get there. And any good criminal defense attorney who handles murder cases will tell you the same basic truth, even if they don't say it in polite company. In other words, around you non-lawyers. Somebody type 9. Anybody who's been to law school knows that that's how they refer to the rest of the world. You're a doctor, non-lawyer. You're a, court reporter, non-lawyer. Smartest man in the world, non-lawyer. You're still a non-lawyer. And so the way lawyers talk around other lawyers is different the way we talk around non-lawyers. In a murder case, the defense often tries to make the jury believe the person who got killed had it coming, or at least that the defendant had a reason to be afraid. That doesn't mean the person literally deserved to die. Sorry to shout out to Sonia Mack. That means the defense is trying to destroy the clean victim image. They're trying to make the jury say, hold on, this wasn't just an innocent person minding his business. There was more going on here. That's insider lawyer talk. That's how these cases are often defended. The defense tries to create doubt by making the deceased person look dangerous and threatening, aggressive, or responsible for creating the situation. And in the Rick Chow case, that's the fact that Cyrus had a gun, 14-year-old Cyrus had a semi-automatic gun, gave the defense exactly what they needed. If Cyrus had been completely unarmed, this case would have looked very different. If there had been no gun, the defense would have had a much harder time saying Rick Chow was defending his son. If there had been no gun, this would have been a grown man chasing a 14-year-old boy and shooting him in the back after wrongly accusing him of stealing water. That's a very different case. But once the jury heard that Cyrus had a pistol, the defense had a path. And whether people like it or not, that gun gave a jury a reason to question whether Rick Chow or his son could have believed there was a deadly threat. They could believe that. And this is where people are going to get mad. I'm going to say it anyway. There's no good reason for a 14-year-old boy to be walking around Columbia, South Carolina with a loaded gun. Who disagrees with that? I don't care if you like Rick Chow. I don't care if you hate Rick Chow. I don't care if you think Cyrus should still be alive. I don't care if you think the shooting was wrong. A 14-year-old child, boy or girl, shouldn't be walking around in an American street with a loaded semi-automatic pistol. Look, man, when a 14-year-old child has a gun, everybody around is in danger. He's in danger, his friends are in danger, his family's in danger, the people in the community in danger. And more often than not, when young people carry guns, the people most likely to be hurt are the people closest to them. And that's not emotion. That's not anti-black. That's reality. Let me run some numbers down to you all. Somebody type sellout in the chat room. Let's get that language going. Somebody type sellout. Come on, let's get all that in there. Because I'm telling you something you don't want to hear. Which is sad, sorry selves. Type raccoon in the chat room. I want all that. Get all that in there. Somebody type Sambo. Let's get all that in there. Huh. You don't like me saying it, and you don't like the fact that those 5 black people acquitted Rick Chow. But let's talk about some numbers. These are people from that community. The Columbia Police reported that between 2019 and 2023, 434 people were shot in Columbia, South Carolina. And guess how old the most common age of the shooting victims were? Yeah, somebody type Oreo, 19 years old. The most common age was 19 years old. I want you to think about that for me. What that means is young people are shooting and killing other young people in Columbia, South Carolina. The violence is hitting young people. You know what happens to your body when you get shot? Huh? You never get over it. Whatever gets hit, it always hurts when it gets cold. Shout out to all the veterans in here. South Carolina in general had one of the highest gun homicide rates in America in 2023. This is what these jurors are thinking about as they sit in that room. You got a teenager with a gun. In 2024, South Carolina had 57 minors charged with murder. In 2024, and 1,644 minors accused of weapons laws violation. Did you hear that? So when people in South Carolina heard about another teenager, 14-year-old, packing a gun, flashing it on social media, they're not hearing it in a vacuum. They're hearing that against the background of what's happening right there in their communities. Let me put this in perspective. Somebody type coon in the chat room. I want to hear all that. Come on now. Who's the real sellouts? Where all you tough gangbangers at? All you do is sell dope and shoot up other black people. Come on in. Let's get some of this. Columbia, South Carolina has 136 square acres of land, dry land. Between 2019 and 2023, Columbia police reported 434 people shot. If you spread that across the whole city evenly, That's about 3.2 people per square mile over a 5-year period. So in other words, I want y'all to think about that. In a 3 square mile, 3 people per square mile. 3 people per square, but that's the whole city. But we know where the violence usually starts off at. We know it's not spread across the whole city, don't we? We know that. Now, we use the rough black community population share compared, that's about 54 square miles. I want you to hear me. 54 square miles. So I want you to walk a mile, turn right, walk another mile, turn right, walk another mile, turn right, walk another mile, go home. That's about a square mile. That's about the size of your little neighborhood, more or less. 8 people per square mile in the black community was shot in Columbia, South Carolina from 2019 to 2023. If somebody gets shot down the street, you're going to hear about it. Imagine 8 people being shot in your vicinity within walking distance. What does that do to you in a 5-year time period? That's not abstract. That's not some national talking point. That's local. That's concentrated. That's the kind of reality that people in Columbia, South Carolina were living with. People that live there, people that vote, people that serve on juries. Shout out to Brown Eyes. These people are raising their teenagers and their same children, their grandchildren. So now you got 5 of these black people who's sitting on the jury for the Rick Chow case. You think they were hearing about teenage gun violence for the first time? This is not a theory in some goddamn college classroom somewhere in California, New York. You sitting in a movie, you sitting in a television studio. This is the reality that these people are dealing with. They're hearing about people from the city where hundreds of people have been shot in a 5-year time period, many of which they know. And if that violence is concentrated in the same communities where black people live, work, shop, and try to raise their children and grandchildren and nieces and nephews, then those jurors have looked at the gun and said, we're tired. They've looked at it, look, not because they like Rick Chow, and certainly not because they hated Cyrus, but because a 14-year-old boy with a gun isn't normal. And people who live around that kind of violence know exactly what it means. And that's why I believe those black jurors looked at that case differently than you folk online. Those jurors weren't just looking at race. They were looking at life in their community. They were looking at crime. They were looking at guns. They were looking at teenagers with semi-automatic weapons like it's a war zone. They're looking at what's happening when young people are armed and reckless and believe, look, and I believe many black people in that area are tired. I believe many of y'all are tired. We're tired of these young folk walking around with guns and flashing them on the internet. We're tired of teenagers with pistols. We're tired of hearing about another shooting. We're tired of worrying about our own children getting caught up in some of that. We're tired of seeing our black communities be destroyed. We're tired of people excusing that behavior that puts everybody else at risk. Now, some people are going to hear that and say, Dennis, you're blaming Cyrus. No, I'm not. I'm not saying Rick Chow is a hero. I'm not saying Cyrus should be dead. I'm not saying any of that. I'm not even saying I like the verdict. I'm saying I understand how 5 black people on that jury got where they are. That's the difference. That's a different conversation. Understanding the verdict doesn't mean celebrating death. Understanding the verdict and understanding the black people who were on that jury who voted to acquit Rick Chow doesn't mean they don't have compassion for the family. Understanding a verdict means you're mature enough, somebody type mature enough to look at all the facts, even the facts that make the case harder for your side, And the facts that Cyrus had a gun, a 14-year-old black boy had a gun, that case is harder for the prosecution because of those people's experience. That's the truth. It made it harder to sell him as an innocent, helpless, unarmed child when you got all these children in the community getting shot and killed by other children. They're tired of it. Black America is tired of that. And that gave the jury a reason to say we may not like what happened, but we're not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that this was murder. We know what these kids are doing. It's not unbelievable that he would pull a pistol out and aim it at this boy. We know what's going on in this community. Why you think he was packing a gun in the first place? This is what's going on in the jury. This is what the jury talking about. And see, that's what people don't want to deal with. They don't want to admit that black jurors can be tired of crime too. We're not pro-crime in the black community. What kind of fool thinks that? You can't admit that black voters are tired of teenage gun violence. They don't want to admit that black homeowners get tired of disorder. You paying all these property taxes and mortgages, and you can't even enjoy your household. Some of y'all can't even sit out on your porch. You can't even go for a walk. The neighborhood just gone straight down. See, they don't want to admit that black working people can be tired of having neighborhoods and schools and businesses and property values affected by other black people who don't give a damn about anybody else's quality of life. And so they express themselves in that jury verdict. Look, man, let's be real. People who sit in juries are often people who show up. They're registered voters. They're reachable. They're responsible enough to come to court when summoned. Many of them have jobs. Many of them own businesses. Many of them have parents. They're homeowners or renters trying to keep a stable life. Many of them are taxpayers. Many of them are people who've got something to lose. And people who've got something to lose don't look at crime the same way as people who don't have anything to lose. If you work as an HVAC or trucking, you're in education, you're a school teacher, you're a nurse, you're in law enforcement or a lawyer, you're an engineer, you're a real estate agent or a business, accounting, construction, or any other serious field. You know what I'm talking about. You work hard. You pay taxes. You pay rent on a mortgage. You pay insurance. You take care of your children. You try to live in a decent area. You try to keep your family safe. You try to build something. And then you watch a small group of reckless people tear down the quality of life of everybody else. And after a while, you get tired. Somebody type tired in the chat room. You get tired of the weed smoking. You get tired of the drug dealing. You get tired of the gun toting. You get tired of the crash out culture, being treated like it's some kind of authentic blackness. It's not. It's a dysfunction. And see, that's why all that name calling, it don't work anymore. You're going to call all 5 of those jurors Sambos because they're tired? Because they're tired of the destructive behavior? You're going to call them all, you're going to call all 5 of those black jurors coons? Some of them might be your grandmas. You're going to call them all Uncle Toms? Because see, it's possible that those were just black people with a different value system. It's possible that they heard the evidence and said, we're tired of 14-year-olds with guns. Is it possible that they said this child should never have had a pistol in the first place? Is it possible that they believe even if they didn't like Rick Child's actions, that the presence of that gun created a reasonable doubt? And see, that's the great black divide. Some black people want every case to be race first. They want facts second. Other black people are saying, no, we're going to look at the facts first because facts are what decides cases. Some black people want to make every black defendant or black descendant a symbol. Other black people are saying, no, we can't love black people and still tell the truth about their behavior. Some black people want to blame the system for everything. Other black people are saying the system can be wrong, but our own decisions can destroy us too. And that's the same thing you see happening with the Karmelo Anthony case. The boy shouldn't have had a knife. I don't care what y'all say. He shouldn't have had a knife on campus. If he hadn't had a knife by default, if he wanted to defend himself, maybe he could have hit him upside the head with his book bag, or he would have just did the fisticuffs. That's why we don't let children carry firearms, because they make emotional decisions. And I know a lot of y'all are saying, hey, the jury got it wrong. Y'all saying he was railroaded. People that are saying it's racism, but here's what the difference is now. 20 years ago, a lot of black people who disagreed would have whispered. They would have said it at the barbershop, man, you know, you shouldn't have had a knife with it. They would have said it when they got home. They would have said it behind closed doors. They wouldn't have said it out loud because they didn't want to be called a coon or a sellout or an Uncle Tom. That's changed now. Now you got a whole different group of black people who don't care about offending that old protest mindset. They don't care if you call them names. They don't care if you say they're not black enough. They grew up watching the degenerate behavior. They saw the chaos. They grew up in the ghetto. They left the ghetto. They saw single mothers struggling. They saw fathers absent. They saw gang culture. They saw pants sagging. They saw twerking. They listened to the gangster rap. They heard we had all these songs about weed smoking 30 years ago. They saw the gun culture. They went to the funerals. They got the T-shirt. They saw the prison sentences. They was giving out football numbers, basketball numbers. They saw the school fights. They saw the neighborhood decline. And they said, we don't want to live like that. And that's what people are missing. See, this isn't just about Rick Chow. This isn't just about Cyrus Carmack-Belton. This isn't about Karmelo Anthony. This is about a rising group of black people saying, we're not defending dysfunction anymore. We're not defending teenagers with guns. We're not defending deadly force over pride. We're not defending people who create danger, then expect the whole race to show up afterwards and pretend like they were victims. We're not defending every bad decision just because the person who made the decision is black. Don't matter how much your mama get on the TV and cry. And again, that doesn't mean we stop caring about black people. We generally love ourselves. And it definitely doesn't mean we're going to stop fighting racism. That doesn't mean we stop demanding fairness in court. That doesn't mean we stop questioning police and prosecutors and judges and juries. That's what we're supposed to do. But let me tell you what it does mean. It means we're going to stop lying to ourselves. It means we stop pretending that every black person involved in the tragedy is automatically innocent of bad judgment. We're going to stop. We not pretending that every black person locked away in prison is innocent. We know that's not true. And we certainly, it means we stop pretending that guns in the hands of children is normal. That is not normal. It means we stop pretending that the community can survive if we keep excusing the same behavior that's been destroying it over the past 45, 50 years. So when people ask why Rick Chow's jury acquitted him, don't just scream racism and move on. Deal with the real facts. Deal with the fact that the jury makeup. Deal with the fact that it was 5 black jurors on that jury. Deal with the gun, the semi-automatic gun. Deal with the burden of proof. Deal with the self-defense argument. Deal with the crime stats in South Carolina. and what was in the background context of what those black people in Columbia, South Carolina have been experiencing. All them young people getting shot. Carrying weapons, tearing up the community. Because this is the part of the conversation that usually gets overlooked. Black people aren't just tired of racism. Black people are also tired of crime. We're tired of black on black crime. We're tired of hearing about it. Black people aren't just tired of police misconduct. Black people are tired of young fools with guns. Black people aren't just tired of unfair courts. Black people are also tired of going to funerals and prison visits and putting money on the books. We're tired of unsafe neighborhoods and can't even go visit your cousins like you want to. We're tired of children who think carrying a pistol makes them grown. And that's why this divide is growing. One side is still trying to shame everybody in the silence with words like coon and Sambo and Uncle Tom. And the other side is saying, shh, you call me whatever. You call me whatever you want, but I'm going to protect my children, protect my property, protect my peace, and tell the truth. And that second group is getting louder and more educated and more financially stable and less afraid of being insulted. And that's why the old tricks aren't working anymore. You can't shame people who've already moved past needing your approval. You can't control people who aren't scared of your insults. And you can't force successful, stable, responsible, rich black people who are in the middle class, upper middle class, or rich to defend the chaos going on in the ghetto. That's the message that these cases are sending. That's why the message from Karmelo Anthony, this Karmelo Anthony debate, and that's and the message a lot of black people don't want to hear. Black people, black America is changing, and people are tired of the dysfunction, and we're not whispering about it anymore. Now, somebody type now in the chat room. Y'all done got my blood pressure up. Praise Moses. Y'all done got my blood pressure. As always, I have some video footage I'd like you all to review with me. Somebody type now. Somebody type now in the chat room. No, let's get to somebody type kind of put the coon in the chat room. I want to hear that. Raccoon, Sambo. Come on, put all that in there. Let's get all that up in there. I want it all in. Yes, I want you to get it all up in there. I want all of that, which is sad selves. Somebody type great black divide in the chat room. Somebody type great separation in the chat room. That's where we at. The great separation. Black people are rejecting this degenerate behavior. You don't have to like it, but it is what it is. Let's check out this first video. You guys hit the #1 button if you can hear it clearly. Make sure you subscribe to the channel.
He getting punished for what he did, and I didn't agree with the murder. I thought manslaughter. But I did say this to my chat. I study up on laws, and if we're going off the law, if you look up Penal Code 1931 and 1932, it was never going to be self-defense. It does not fit the criteria for self-defense under Penal Code 1931 and 1932. Now, then you go back and look at the statute of
Now, this young brother is referring to the Texas Penal Code 1931 and 1932. It talks about the use of force and when you have the right to use, you respond in self-defense. That's what he's talking about. But this is a young brother. It looks like he's in his late 20s, early 30s. And then you got another young brother in a hoodie who's going to give a commentary on it. These are young men saying this. All right. So let's keep listening.
Not statute limit. You go back and look at the stand your ground law. There is no stand your ground because it didn't happen in his home, his business. So there was never going to be stand your ground. If it would happen on his front door, then yeah. But it happened in public at a public school, and you killed him. whether you meant to do it or not, I believe he made a mistake. I don't think he did it on purpose, but the fact is that boy laying on that ground dead, you have to pay the consequences.
Shout out to Just for My Sense. Again, if he didn't have the knife on him, he wouldn't have been able to use it. That's why we don't want children walking around with knives and guns. You see, therein lies the problem. We know children who don't have fully developed brains do crazy things. This is why we don't have our children having access. We teach them better. This is part of the problem. Somebody type parenting in the chat room.
Consequences for that. I agree, manslaughter. That's what I thought. But if you're looking up what murder means, it fits it.
Okay.
So people just in their feelings and being emotional because it's a black dude. But if you just take your mind out of being this color of your skin and you look up the law, you'll know that he is justified. You got people who want me to just judge it off the color of my skin.
Okay.
If I'm a juror, if I'm on the jury, I'm not looking at the color of no skin on the jury. I'm looking at what the law means. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. You got to look up what the law means. I know my laws.
Now you hear the people in the back. You hear the people in the back. Somebody type off code in the chat room. Somebody type off code. What else you want me to say? Now this man is not a lawyer. I told you all the same thing. This is what the law says. Would you like us to lie to you or tell you the truth so you can avoid the situation? This is a young man saying this, okay? All of these folk can't be off code. I mean, if everybody's off code, then we probably need to amend that code. I think the committee needs to get together and amend the code. If you're trying to tell black people they are justified in murdering somebody because they pushed them or because they were afraid or got upset, and that you sending a lot of people to prison. Let's keep listening.
I know my rights. He did it. And
Let him be.
that's the reason why we're in this situation right now.
Okay, so with that being said, because it's a racial tension.
It is, and it shouldn't be.
So what I
Those are two children who did not deserve to be in jail and die this early in their life.
Now, see, this is why I tell folks that the people around Karmelo, his family, etc., that's who failed him in this situation with this case, this trial, all of that, bro. Because no one took the time out to go and look up the things that this individual just highlighted, the penal codes and what actually constitutes a fucking self-defense defense. You know what I'm saying? Or, a stand your ground and all of that stuff. If they would have did their due diligence and went and read upon.
No, the failure happened when the young man was walking around with a knife in school. That's when the failure happened. Let's just start with that. Children shouldn't have knives and guns on them. Can we all agree with that? People under the age of 18, are you in the Marine Corps? Why do you need a knife at the schoolyard? Are you hunting with your daddy? I mean, can we just agree with that? Can all the common sense folk just agree that children shouldn't have dangerous weapons? Are you going to let your son or daughter, your 10, 11, 12-year-old walk around with a semi-automatic pistol in their hand? Somebody going to get shot. I'm just telling you that now. Okay, we are not Vikings. We don't let our children walk around with dangerous weapons. It just don't make sense. They could drop it on the ground and hurt themselves. Just think about that. Okay, it doesn't make sense. But we're gonna move on to the next video. Somebody type coons and sellouts in the chat room. I know that's how you feel. Because it's not nobody to tell you. Your ears are burning right now. You're angry because you're not hearing what you want to hear. That's why you're mad. But unfortunately for you all, there are more black people who are coming out and saying, "Nah, we not with that." Because we grew up in the hood. We grew up in places like Chicago and Detroit and Los Angeles and Atlanta and Dallas and all these big cities back east, up north, and out Oakland. And we see what happens when you get out of. That's why we left some of those places. It was crazy. You can't let people get away like that. And that's why people are tired. Black people are tired of the degenerate, destructive, violent behavior. New Orleans. Next video. Let's keep looking.
Adrian Broner, Dean the Great, humping each other, painted as the lesser than race. Do you know what that does? To outsiders who don't have any idea what we are, it makes them already have a stigma on us. Yo, bro,
I mean, look at it. These are young people. These are young people. These young men probably no more than 20. They got to be under 30 years old. And they're saying they're tired of the degenerate behavior. This is what's going on in Chicago. These young people are twerking on a Chicago squad car. I'm just saying. Is this a good look? Is that a good look? Huh?
these guys are foolish. These
Yeah.
guys don't promote anything intellectual.
Exactly.
They are foolish. So they're going based off what they see Adrian Broner and Dean the Great doing. And then Lil Durk. Lil Durk is talking about spinning
Right, so
on blacks.
hold on, I'm gonna cut you off right now. Hold on. So
Okay.
you see what I'm saying? You see how the reason we able to embody these spirits
Right.
of and take on the personality of Adrian Brono, connect with Lil Durk, or connect with these people, because there's a void within us.
I'm just saying, it's not me saying it. So all these people, coons, all these black people who sell, are they all sellouts? You got young people, old people. You got everybody saying we tired of all of them. Come on, where all the coon callers at? Where y'all at? Come on in and tell us all of us are wrong. All of us are wrong, and you're right. Because this is the great divide that we're talking about. Some black people are tired of the behavior. We're tired of having to defend it. So are all of us wrong? Are we all wrong? Because see, bringing a knife to a track meet, bringing a gun, 14-year-old packing a gun, this is part of that I can do whatever I want to do and you can't tell me culture that we've been dealing with. And if you try to tell me something, it's oppression. It's racism. That's what you're telling us. So all of us are wrong. Everybody wrong. That's what you're saying. Everybody else wrong. Not you. Oh no, not you didn't do nothing wrong. Okay, but the minute you get, hemmed up by the police for packing an unlicensed firearm, I'm a victim. We supposed to come to your rescue. That's what you're saying? You got grown men on there humping each other. He talking about Adrian, just do whatever I want to do. That's what you're saying. It's okay. Now let's go ahead and let's keep listening. Now I know you all, I'm a black lawyer. Now let me tell you a little bit about myself because I know you all like, oh, he don't know what he says. He's a personal injury lawyer. Practicing criminal law is something that they teach you to do in law school. You get that your first year of law school. That is basic law. They even test that on you on the bar exam. This is basic stuff. A first year law student, a second year law student can actually go join a criminal law clinic and defend real people. That's how easy it is. Very easy to understand, not complicated at all. You can literally get a law license, graduate, go right out and start practicing criminal law. They'll let you do that. And you can probably do pretty well for yourself. It's very simple. Okay? So it's not complicated. But when I gave y'all the explanation, you didn't believe me. So let me let somebody else tell you that you might believe. Y'all might believe them more than you believe me. Okay, even though, I'm licensed to practice law in 5 states or 6 states, admitted to practice in the Supreme Court of the United States, 5th Circuit Court of Appeal, multiple federal courts all over the country. You understand? But y'all don't have to believe me. Inducted into the Southern University Law Center Hall of Fame in 2024. So the lawyers think I'm an excellent lawyer. But since y'all don't believe I can explain, I got an LLM. I have 2 law degrees. One a JD that allows you to qualify to take the bar. Another one, LLM, that would allow you to teach law school if you want to. But y'all don't believe me. So I'm going to let these regular lawyers, who happen to be, a different color, let them explain. So y'all will believe them more than you believe me. Let's listen to this gentleman say the same thing I said on Willie D's channel. Go ahead, sir. Mm-hmm. Can y'all hear the sound? Are y'all listening? Maybe let me cue it up again. I want to make sure you guys hear what this gentleman has to say. I don't know if you guys can hear the sound. We'll try it again. Somebody said it was freezing. Let's see if we can get it going. Okay. All right.
There are different components. The argument that Carmelo Anthony was there and he shouldn't have been there. Well, that's okay, but it's not your bleachers. You don't get to throw people out because of intent. That's an argument that you're going to see the defense make. Why did the eventual victim in this case decide that it was his role to kick him out? And then there's a tussling back and forth. And then, unfortunately, Mr. Metcalf did seemingly start the fight, so to speak, right? He was what we might call the aggressor.
We agree. Metcalf was the aggressor. He did put hands on her first. We agree with that. That's what I said too. I'm saying the same thing he said, but y'all don't believe me. I'm not white enough for you all, right? Is that the problem? I need to be white. Okay, so I know how you are. Go ahead and keep listening to him.
And pushing him out or grabbing him and touching him. So under Florida law and also Texas law, and when you're the aggressor, when you first start the fight, so to speak, you may lose the protection. If it was Karmelo.
I apologize. This man looks just like Colonel Sanders. Doesn't he look like Colonel Sanders? With the white hair and the goatee. All he needs is some glasses and a bucket of fried chicken. But anyway, let me get back to the business.
We started Karmelo Anthony. Now we get to say shifted because if Metcalf was the one who started the fight, now can Anthony respond to defend himself? We know he can. And then as was mentioned a moment ago, are you supposed to bring a knife to a fist fight? No, you're supposed to bring a gun.
Are you supposed to what? Bring a knife to a fist fight. Now, when I said that, you all got mad. Well, now, when Colonel Sanders says it, you're good, right? That's what it is? Is that what's going on?
To a fist fight? Absolutely not. But if you're there and starting to get attacked, which is what the defense is going to say, can you defend yourself? And what they're going to say is, Anthony he need to wait until the first nasty strike, the first injury. He can presuppose what might happen, and he's allowed to defend himself. But again, really a tough case because it really is in the middle, and we're talking about two 17-year-olds and not making fun of it, but neither of which were acting with real good reason. We joke and say that a male brain isn't fully developed until 25.
Not just male brain, sir. Don't just put that on the men, the women either. Okay.
And unfortunately, the tragedy happened probably because of a mix of testosterone and immaturity that brought these two boys together.
That's why we don't let kids walk around with weapons. That's why we ban weapons from schools. And we have an age requirement for enrolling in the military. Okay. So again, as you heard Colonel Sanders, the Colonel Sanders lawyer said the same thing I said. Okay. You can't bring a knife to a fist fight. Now, y'all got mad at me. Go call Colonel Sanders a coon. Okay, all the lawyers in America can tell you this is some basic law. It's what the law book says. Okay, self-defense has to be proportional, ... But you don't have to believe me. Next time you go get you some Kentucky Fried Chicken, you'll remember what the Colonel Sanders lawyer said, and you'll remember old poor Uncle D tried to tell you. But this is why lawyers charge. This is why we charge by the hour, because y'all don't believe nothing. Okay, don't waste my time. All right, but let's move on to the next video. Let's keep on looking. See what else people have to say. Here's another one. Keep listening.
Here is to boycott niggas. To boycott.
Oh, ma'am, hold on a minute.
Y'all boycott every group of people except the actual group that y'all should be boycotting. The obvious answer here is to boycott niggas, to boycott degeneracy, the trashy music. That is the obvious answer.
Y'all heard the blah, blah, blah. That's so that YouTube won't hear me saying the N-word. Somebody type family friendly. We can't have it. She's just too cute to be throwing the N-word out like, ma'am, don't throw the N-word out like that. You can't just be saying that. But anyway, her point is that we need to boycott N-words. She's also talking about the Great Divide. Okay, the Great Divide. All right, let's let her finish talking with her little. Look like she was out there with the lumberjacks with her shirt on. All she needs is an axe and a Paul Bunyan hat. Go ahead, baby.
And instead of you guys looking at that and understanding that that is the answer, you guys want to blame the Asians on something that have nothing to do with the Asian community, and it has everything to do with our degenerate culture. And yes, I say you guys because last time I checked, y'all took my black card. Y'all excommunicated me from the community. So yeah, I'm going to refer to you as you guys.
That's what they do, baby. They excommunicate you when you don't say something they want to hear. They excommunicate. Now, if you got you a white man that happened to be a duke or prince in England, you'll be black again. Okay, but as long as you saying stuff like that, you can't be black. Now, if you start dating a wealthy white man, they're gonna claim you. That's you know it is. You know I'm telling you the truth. Okay, they'll give you a black card then if you become a black princess, even if you like 1/10 black, you'll still be black. That's it. That's how they do. Okay, but they will take your black card when you start telling them that some of the stuff you're doing is foolish and degenerate. They will swear up and down. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Let's keep listening to this lady.
And the sad part about it is what happened with Cyrus is other people doing something about y'all issues. That is what you are seeing. I told y'all, as long as y'all continue to do nothing about your issues, other people, other races of people are going to take matters in their own hands, and your kids are going to be laid out in the streets. I said this. I'm going to say this one more time.
She ain't lying. Okay, let me explain something to y'all. I want y'all to hear me. I want you to hear very carefully. Okay, she said something very serious. These people are not going to just let black folk, these young black people run around and destroy their neighborhoods and destroy their businesses. You're going to see a lot more acquittals. If all it takes is for a black child to have a weapon or a dangerous weapon on them, for a person to get acquitted for unaliving or murdering one of them, it's going to happen. These people are not going to keep tolerating this, man. And in the minute you have black jurors who are saying, yeah, I'm going to acquit him too, even if he did kill a black person, the kid had a gun. I'm just telling y'all this is what's happening. And see, unfortunately, it's going to be good, decent black folk who are going to get caught up into that. It's going to be good kids who don't have criminal records who are going to get caught up, black kids. They're going to say, well, you know, he looks like a teenager. He fits the model, black boys and girls. So if we don't start reining this in ourselves, if we don't start checking this and getting these kids under control and checking these parents, it's going to get bad for all of us. None of our children are going to be safe. And that's another thing. They're going to start putting parents in prison. Your son they did a white woman like that. Her son messed around and hurt some people with a firearm. They put her in prison, along with getting sued civilly. They're also going to put the parents in prison. Are y'all ready for that? You better get society is tired of it. And look, I know y'all say, well, white people do it too. I get that. Okay, but that's where the racism comes in. Okay? If you got an all-white jury, your dad is the judge, your uncle's the DA, you might get a little slap on the wrist. Might do a little time, but that's not what we have as black people. That is not our situation. We don't get that privilege. We get the same old justice that we've been getting. So we have to act accordingly. That's just the reality of it. Some people are, oh my God, if it's a minefield out there, you want me to tell you it's a minefield to the left? Or you want me to just let you walk through there? It's dangerous over there. Don't do that. It is, don't do it. Very simple. Understand. Hey, you know what? If you walk in that cage, there's some lions over there that's going to tear you up. Don't do it. And if you walk in there after that, that's your fault. But we'll let this little lady with the perm keep speaking. Go ahead, lady.
You got to do something about your own issues. You have to address the criminality, the stealing, the violence. If we don't address these issues, even the obesity and STDs, if we don't address these issues, nothing is going to get better. It's actually going to be quite the contrary.
Yeah. And see, the other thing is some black people just don't care no more. They're good. They're not worried about you. They don't live in the hood anymore. They got their white girlfriend. They live in a Latino neighborhood. They don't care. You understand? This is not a community effort anymore. Black folk don't even live around each other like we did before the 1960s. It's another something I'm going to address in here somewhere. Let's keep listening. Okay.
Street twerking and doing stuff like that.
Ghetto black woman, ghetto white woman.
Okay. Now
what white women are walking around the street twerking and doing stuff like that?
Now you wouldn't catch somebody. This young man walks up on black people, black women, I think, and talks about certain behaviors that have become very popular over the past 15 years, and this has a lot to do with twerking and other suggestive dances. And so, this wouldn't have been happening 15, 20 years ago. But these young people are different. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Black woman, ghetto white woman. Ghetto white woman. I see them all the time. They be allowances all the time. Why are we comparing?
Because white women don't act like this.
Yes, they do.
Where?
The ghetto ones, not the ones.
Come to Pride on Saturday.
So
you gonna see all the white bitches shaking their ass.
I can ask her.
No shame.
I can ask a white bitch party at the Mochella right now talking her ass.
What's the comparison? Because it could be white girls don't have rhythm and they don't even know how to twerk. Right. But they still be out here enjoying with us and we'll be twerking. What's wrong with all that?
Now I live in Texas and I've passed through enough trailer parks to know it's some degeneracy going on in the trailer park too. But the problem is for black people is that white people typically don't accept that sort of behavior as typical white behavior. Unfortunately for black Americans, the people with the lowest standards have become the face and voice of the black community. And this is where a lot of the pushback is coming from. We don't like that. There are black people who don't like that. They don't speak for us. See, that's another thing. The ghetto, the hood, they don't speak for us. All these responses and whatnot. Just think about it. The other day with Willie D and myself, the reason why that video is so shocking to so many people, because that's probably one of the first times you've had an attorney, a well-trained, mature, 50-year-old father, homeowner, lawyer, responsible, black man, educated, speaking with another black man who's a world-renowned rapper. Now, that does not happen oftentimes in many other communities. They don't have entertainers and rappers speaking on their behalf. They have other educated people. So you saw the difference. This is the contradiction. We didn't used to have that. Back in the day, when I was growing up, they just stick a microphone in front of an athlete or a singer and ask them about these tough, complicated political questions or social issues. That's why you have people like Harry Belafonte. Or you guys look up to folk like, you look up to people who, Dick Gregory, he was a comedian, or you get some preacher or something like that. Preachers don't do all that speaking for people in other communities. Those are religious leaders. They usually have their professionals. And so that's the first time that people have ever actually seen a black professional speak on an issue. And of course it was law related. And I think that was a good thing. It was a good exercise. Okay. But again, we're going to go back to this young man basically confronting these young women about what he sees as degenerate culture that takes away from the image of black people, which is, again, something you would rarely see 20 years ago because we weren't addressing folk about their degenerate behavior. But everybody at this point can see there's a problem with it because it's making all of us look bad. Let's keep listening.
It's a way that we need to be viewed as black women. Black women need to be viewed as respectful. Yeah.
So because we twerk, we won't be viewed as respectful.
Absolutely not. But look. I can ask any black man right now, do you respect your girl twerking in the street? They'll all say no.
Not your girl, a black girl.
I wouldn't want my daughter twerking in the street if I had one. How many of you fathers want your daughters? How many of you mothers think it's acceptable for your daughter to be twerking in the street? Okay, let's not even put it on our partner or girlfriend or wife. Do you want your daughter twerking in the street? Because if your answer is yes, you're a bad parent. If your answer is no, you're part of that great divide, at least on that side. Okay, let's keep listening.
Because we are single women. Yes. We're single women.
That's
Why
fine.
can't we twerk and have fun?
The brother is not saying, see, here's the thing. The brother is not saying you can't do it. He's pointing out the fact that this is how it makes you look. It's no different than young black men walking around with their pants hanging off their butt, talking crazy and disrespectful. People gonna get a certain perception of it. This is the great divide. And at this point, we're just pointing out, hey, you know, there are people who don't agree with that. Not all black people agree with that behavior. And again, you're getting pushed back, but this is it. You know, and this is the value system that we have. Now, look, y'all don't have to, you know, it's better coming from black people than it is coming from white people. But white people have a lot to say too. I want you to listen to this. This is Austin Metcalf's daddy, and this after the verdict went down, the gag order was lifted, and he had a lot to say. Okay, I'm gonna let him go ahead and roll through it. Look, I get it. His son died. I'd be saying a whole lot more than that. And the truth is, if it was my son, I would want Karmelo Anthony to get a whole lot more than 35 years, especially since he'd probably be eligible for parole in 17. But we're gonna let this man talk. And you know, this is his son that was murdered. You know, how would you feel? What would you say if you've had a gag order for a year and a half? But again, he's gonna say some very bigoted, racist stuff. Okay, and we don't like it coming from them. We don't like it coming from black people, but you're definitely not gonna like it coming from this guy. Listen to him.
You don't even know who your daddy is because 78% of you don't have your father in the home anymore. You got baby mamas running around with 8 kids so they can get EBT cards to feed you all. You think I'm being racist? No, I'm being real.
Now, the truth is, sir, and I know you're upset, there are more white people on EBT and welfare than black people. I get that. And the other thing is you have to understand, and again, I know you're upset, your son was shot, but it's not all black people, okay? Is your son and that young man had some sort of altercation, and the truth is that your son shouldn't have put his hands on the young man. Let's start with that. I get that. The other boy should never have had a knife on him, and he certainly should haven't used that sort of excessive force. But again, you know, and I empathize with you. I definitely don't want my son to get into some sort of skirmish and end up getting stabbed. But I also tell my sons to keep their hands to themselves. But let's let you keep talking. I know you're angry. I'm gonna give you some airtime. Here we go.
You have embarrassed your own culture and race. Don't get me wrong. We got white people that embarrass the shit out of me too. But you guys, you got a patent on that shit. Y'all can let me make something racist up so y'all can go viral. I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all were trying to portray. How about Watermelon Felon? How's that one strike you? I hope he enjoyed his first night in that cell last night. Because he's going to have many nights to think about what the fuck he did.
Fair use, family friendly. Man's angry. He's angry. Okay. Now, just to be fair, again, you know, both of these young men participated in this conflict, and it's a horrible situation. They were both kids, and it should have never happened. One of them should have kept their hands to themselves. The other one definitely shouldn't have responded with a knife. Okay. Now, for this gentleman to take it out on black people, I get what he's saying. He's saying that they have degenerate behavior in white folk society. But see, the problem is that we've let the degenerate people speak on our behalf. You typically don't see trailer park trash and rednecks speaking up on behalf of all white people. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have some ghetto white people, if you use that term, but they don't embrace that. They don't allow that to be the spokespersons of their, they don't have the microphone. Black people, because of our traditional position in this country, we don't typically separate ourselves, or we haven't separated ourselves by class or financial ability. We don't typically do that. Just like we don't separate ourselves by colorism. We all black. If you're sitting at the table at your grandmother's house, your crackhead cousin might have the same say so as your engineering cousin. Okay, all of them can sit there and be treated the same. In most country families, if you're a person in the family of a lower standing or lower social, or you don't even have anything to say, you go sit out back with the dogs and the kids, so to speak. But in black culture, we try to give everybody the right to speak, and everybody has a voice. which is something that we are beginning to change. But you know, that's what he means. We have a patent on it. Okay. Shout out to everybody contributed to the Super Chat, Cash App, and the paper. I see y'all. I'm just trying to roll through this. It's a very serious subject, and I wanna just roll through. You guys make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. But let's let this gentleman finish speaking.
Because 400 years ago, someone actually sold you to us, and we took you over here and put you to work. And then
you didn't do anything, sir. You were poor. You didn't do anything. The vast majority of slaves, and that's what he's talking about, were owned by the top 1% of white people. Okay, and then you also had black people who owned slaves. You also had Africans who participated in the slave trade. So now he's just throwing stuff out there. Now this is just venting and angry. You know, I get it. The man's angry his son died, so he wants to be mad at the whole culture. It's not all black people, sir. It's not all black people. You can't, just like you don't want us throwing all white people under the bus. Okay, you shouldn't allow you, because he did well early on. He said the Proud Boys showed up and they were trying to turn this into a racial issue. And you know, he said, no, you're not going to turn my son's death into a racial issue. He did well a year and a half ago, but whatever. I guess he's angry now. And I understand why the man's angry. He lost his son. I get that. And then there's been a lot of mean, horrible things said about him and his family and his children. But this has been a highly contested matter. But at some point, we're going to have to try to figure out how we're going to live together in this country. Okay. Now, some people just want me to let the video play. I'm not going to do that. Okay. I'm not. If you want to see this video, you can go over there to social media, Instagram, or wherever, and you can look at it for yourself. Here, we're going to put it in context. I'm not going to let anybody rant. Okay. So be offended if you want to. I'm not going to let it go like that. On top of that, YouTube might demonetize me for that. Let's keep going.
A civil war to free your ass. And now you want to talk shit. Oh, I'm being so oppressed. You couldn't even vote 1960.
That's not true. Black men could vote way back before white women could vote. White women couldn't vote until after black men. And on top of that, we had the right to vote after the end of this. We had black people who were elected to office at the end of the Civil War during a period called Reconstruction. There were black people sitting in Congress right back in those same congressional seats. So that's inaccurate, sir. But I'm gonna let you continue.
Look how far you've come. Look at all the free shit we give you.
Free? I think it's cost a lot in blood and treasure. You have black people who have participated in all the wars, and many of our ancestors were here before your ancestors arrived, just so you know. And I'm not just talking about the Africans. I'm talking about Native Americans, because black people, by generally speaking, are an amalgamated people. We have white ancestors, but we were here before your ancestors in many instances. Go ahead and continue, sir. Go ahead and continue.
You're not oppressed. You're fucking entitled.
Yeah. So yeah, he's very angry. Again, I understand why the gentleman's angry. His son was murdered, and you know, his family was drugged through the mud. But the bottom line is, it's not all black people. Just like you don't want to throw all white people under the bus. At the end of the day, these were two children. They got into a fight, and you know, they both participated. One of them pushed the other one. He shouldn't have done that. And the other one overreacted. Period. And it's totally it's unfortunate. You got, you know, the Karmelo Anthony was sentenced to prison, and that's what we do in a civilized society. It's not really much more we can talk about, but we'll move on to the next video. You guys hit the #1 button. But again, it's the degenerate behavior. Okay. It's degenerate behavior, and whether you're a good kid or a bad kid, this and for all intents and purposes, Karmelo Anthony didn't have a criminal record. He hadn't done anything prior to this. Okay. But we still have to deal with the fact that he too was touched. Just like some of your kids. You didn't raise your kids in the ghetto, but they still do ghetto things. Some of our young professionals think it's okay to try to, you don't know if you want to be an engineer or a gangster. You don't know if you want to be a school teacher or a stripper. Some of the school teachers can do twerk better than the strippers. Not that I would know, of course. I'm just saying, okay? So where'd that come from? We have to begin to ask ourselves that. Now, again, it's not just white people saying these things. It's other black people. Listen to this cat. He's interesting.
More than the actual person who's not with us anymore. The actual victim, they don't care about. Everyone feels sorry for this little monster. I never felt comfortable around you niggas. That's why I got the hell away from y'all.
Sir. It's because you have on that cowboy hat. And I know cowboy hats. That's not a real one. That's some you picked up at the local Walmart. But they don't like you either. Okay? I'm just saying, young brother, they don't like you either. So, it's interesting. Okay? You can try all you want, but you're still one of them, meaning you're one of us. Okay? So don't try to distance yourself from the group. I hate you. And when you move in, that's what they looking at you saying, they hate you too when you move into their neighborhoods. I'm just pointing that out, sir, respectfully.
Y'all think this is a game, like, oh, you're just saying this for likes and clicks. No, I'm not even near you niggas. My kids don't go to school with you niggas. This ain't.
Sir, you are one of the N-words. Why do black people do that? Why do black people say, I don't even live one of you all? You are them. When you say, I don't live around you, you brought them with you. You are them. When white people see you, they like, man, we got to move because you're one of them, sir. I'm one of them too. You can't get around that. You think they see you any differently? I mean, you got the, little, I date a white woman mustache on, praise Moses, but you still one of them, brother. You can't get around. They can't get away from that. I bet you won't go to Vidor, Texas. They're going to put you out too. You got a family reunion in Vidor, Texas. Don't go. Get some gas and keep moving like the rest of us. Let's let the brother finish.
For likes. This is for real. Like growing up when my friends would come over, hey, my dad would check them at the door. Listen, man, you got to take that do-rag off. This do-rag ain't allowed here. My dad didn't like do-rags. Because he watches the news. He see who's doing the killing. Take that do-rag off before you come over. And that's all. Like, and when I was a kid, I didn't understand. I'm like, why is dad like this? What's going on with dad, Ma? Why is he tripping? Why is he embarrassing me? My mom sat me down and told me a story. Listen.
Dad had standards. Dad probably grew up in the ghetto. And dad moved away from the ghetto. That's why. But let's let him finish telling his story.
Dad's seen a lot of things. What do you mean, Ma? What happened? I never told you this, and don't tell your father I told you, but when we were young, we used to party at your dad's house, when we were 16, and his brother had just come home from the military. His brother was older, your father looked up to him. He was kind of the protector of the home. Everybody loved him. He was just a great guy. Just came home from the military, and they threw a party for him. Celebrating, everybody celebrating downstairs. What happens? A knock on the door. My father's brother goes up the stairs, opens the door. What is it? A bunch of monsters. Do-rag wearing monsters. Yo, we want to come to the party. My father's brother tells him, no, you're not allowed. Nobody else is allowed. We're going to just keep having this party and you guys are going to leave. What do? Oh, yeah? Put a gun to his head, shoot him in the head. He fall down the stairs, dies in front of my dad. My dad is traumatized by y'all.
Yeah, that's part of the culture that we're talking about, you see? And, we can't ignore that, can we? We always talk about Black Lives Matter, but my question is, do Black Lives matter to black people? Why is it so easy for us to take another black person's life if Black lives really matter? I'm just throwing that out there, okay? That's not necessarily the subject we're talking about right now, but again, that is why Black America is trying to divide itself and get away from that behavior. And you may not like this. You didn't like what the white dude said. You don't like what this black dude. Come on, somebody type Coon, Sambo. Come on, let's get all the names in. Let's get all these names in. Get all the names in that y'all like to call black people for speaking the truth about their experience. You don't want anybody to say it. You call Karmelo Anthony's daddy race, Austin Metcalf's daddy racist, but this black dude is saying the same thing. Is he racist too? Is he speaking as he said his daddy's brother got shot and killed by some knuckleheads that showed up and tried to crash a family party? That happens. I remember something like that happened to me. I was having a party at my mama's house at 17-year-old. Some gangsters showed up. I used to live off 92nd and Dinker in South Central Los Angeles. Some gangsters showed up, thought they were just gonna come crash the party. I was like, nah, y'all can't come in. But they could have easily came back and shot the house up. That's the behavior he's talking about. Now, is that good or bad? Does it make us sellouts and coons and what, Sambos for wanting to get away from that? Huh? Because see, some of us bring the nigga with us when we talk about getting away, because that's what happened to Karmelo. I know you won't be tired, I know. Karmelo Anthony's family is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, right? That man that they say is his daddy is his stepdaddy. Where's his real daddy at? Where's his biological father at? Huh? What happens in the relationships when you have a biological father not present and the stepfather is there? Somebody type stepdaddy. Does the stepdaddy have any say so typically in the relationship? I'm just pointing. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It's my understanding that was a stepdad. You know, the guy that was crying and such and so forth. How much influence and control does the stepdaddy? Because if it was my son, you better not bring a goddamn knife to this school. I'm gonna make you touch every wall in this house if that's my son. But stepdaddy can't really do that, can he? Typically, mama has control over that, right? I'm just pointing out some things. I'm speaking in general. I don't know these people's relationship, but your son brought a knife to school. And it's my understanding it was a couple of times. Can we speak facts? Can we be honest? Are we gonna try to fix this problem? I mean, are we gonna try to fix this problem? Because on one hand, you got a 14-year-old boy running around Columbia, South Carolina with a semi-automatic pistol. On the other hand, you got another black boy who's 17 at the schoolhouse at the track meet with a knife in his backpack. Are we gonna deal with this? Are we just gonna keep calling each other coons and sell out? I mean, I'm just asking questions. Somebody just say, I'm just asking questions. What does your son have in his backpack? What does your daughter have in her purse or her pocket? I mean, I'm saying, are we gonna deal with it? Because it's obvious if it's a cultural issue, your children who you raise in the suburbs and sent to these private schools are still going to be affected by that culture. And that's what these white folk are talking about. So when my man gets on here and say, I don't want to live around you N-words, you one of the N-words the white people are trying to get away from, sir. You and your kids. Love the kids, I'm just saying. We all have to deal with this negative image. We all are going to have to deal with the prejudice that comes along with being a culture known for who leads with the degeneracy. Do you all get that? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this: not one of us can rise until all of us rise. I'm paraphrasing that. So we're all stuck in this boat together. So whether you got a cowboy hat on from Walmart or some boots from aisle 10, you still are subject to that same reputation. You can't get away from it. I'm gonna let this fella finish speaking.
In that moment, man, he just didn't want nothing to do with you. He stayed in Brooklyn a little longer, seen more things happen, and then he got to them books. Yo, I got to get out of here.
Got to get out of here.
I cannot raise a family here. It's not safe. It's a reason why people want to get away from y'all. You have an animalistic monster mentality. Nobody wants to be around. Shoot first, ask questions later. That's how y'all move. Y'all don't even fight no more. Ain't no hands, one-on-ones. Y'all just go straight to killing. Obviously, it's not all black people. There's a lot of good black people out here. There's a lot of monsters as well. And
yeah, it's a lot of monsters amongst us, and that's why we're dividing and getting away from them. Somebody typed the Great Divide in the chat room. Somebody typed the Great Divide in the chat room. That's why we're trying to get away from them.
it's not hard to tell who's who. And that is exactly why Austin Metcalf didn't want that boy around. He was right.
Well, it's hard to hear, right? This is hard to hear, right? Somebody type Coon. Come on, let's get all the name calling in. Somebody get all the name calling. Coon, sell out. Come on, let's hear all the names. I want all the names. Give me some better ones. I need some better names. That's why we're trying to divide. And the minute you try to divide and you point out the degeneracy and explaining why you get called mean names. But we don't care. I don't think people care no more. If it's a matter of safety and security of your family and your peace of mind, I don't think people care anymore. I think we like, nah, we'll go ahead and be the trash pandas. We just gonna get away from around y'all. We won't be at the cookout. Not coming to the cookout ain't safe. Okay. Let's keep on listening to some more black people talk about it. Let's see what this is a black
place in our city recently, and a life was lost, and another life was sent away to prison for over 3 decades. And it's dividing the city, and all that's just stupid to me, to be honest with you. Keep the main thing, the main thing. The main thing is we got to cover our young people. Hello, somebody. We have to cover them, and we have to teach them about self-control. Hello, somebody.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Did he say self-control? Because when I said self-control, y'all told me, y'all told me I wasn't black. That's what y'all told me. Y'all told me what y'all thought I was a quadroon. What y'all tell me? Come on, what's all the words you say? I said he was bullied. Y'all, he was bullied though. That's what y'all told me. Self-control. Somebody type self-control. Some of y'all don't have self-control. You do something to me, I'm doing whatever. You can't control what I do. Well, the law can control what happened to you. The law controls your behavior. But I'm gonna go ahead and let the pastor finish speaking. I know y'all told me not to interrupt. I'm gonna let the pastor finish speaking and saying what he was saying. Self-control.
If there was an element of self-control in that whole equation, on both sides of it, turning the other cheek, self-control, if there was the element of that, it's quite possible we wouldn't be here in this situation. So sometimes we make it a big thing, and listen, I'm not telling you how to feel, but I am saying I'm a solutions person.
Solution.
We can whine and complain all day long. I'm looking at that saying, hey, what can be different? And something so obvious comes out of it to me, self-control.
Yeah. And don't bring a knife to school. How about that? How about don't bring a knife to school? Keep your hands to yourself. Don't bring a knife to school. That's good.
Hands to yourself.
Yep.
Use your words responsibly.
Yep.
Hello, somebody. Don't be overcome with evil. Overcome evil with good. Stay in control. And I've been preaching that all year. That this season in the world is going to necessitate emotional regulation.
You know what teaches you self-control? I want all you gentle parents to come to the front. All you gentle parents, come on up to the front. Self-control. You know what teaches kids self-control? A butt whooping. That's how I learned self-control. I used to get whipped with belts and switches. You know what a switch is? Have you ever been hit with a peach tree switch for doing something you shouldn't have done? That's how you teach kids discipline. I know, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said it. I shouldn't have said that some of these kids needed to have been whipped. I know, I apologize. My bad. Self-control. Starts with punishment for losing it. Doing things they should. We would, shout out to Big J. We wouldn't have all these out of control kids running around here if y'all had been whooping them. You can't tell my baby what to do. He needed a whooping. Now now guess who's telling him what to do? The warden, the CO. The CO is telling him what to do. His cellmate is telling him what to do. The judge told him what to do. The judge told him, you gonna do 50 years. Because you didn't want nobody else telling him what to do. Now you're getting told the state has him in a little suit on the side of the highway picking up trash. Because you didn't want nobody telling him what to do, and you didn't want to tell him what to do. Yep, that's exactly right. See, that's how we teach self-control, discipline. Discipline is learned. Sometimes you got to punish. I know. Somebody type gentle parenting in the chat room. Somebody type, who gonna check me, boo, in the chat room? The judge. The judge is gonna check you. The jury is gonna check you. We regulate that behavior in a civilized society because we don't want to live around uncivilized people who don't know how to control themselves. So we expect people to come out of their home being disciplined, understanding consequences. Because when you allow a child to just exist in the world and they don't have any consequences, they think they can do whatever they want to and nobody can get away with it, this is what you end up with. We're not going to deal with it. Somebody type, we're tired in the chat room. We could be all the coons and sellouts, house Negro, whatever you want us to be. Whatever you want us to be after we telling you what happened. But you're going to learn the hard way. Whatever you don't learn at home, the world will teach you. But we're going to let the pastor keep preaching. Somebody type self-control in the chat room.
Because there's going to be a lot of things to argue about, a lot of things to get upset about. Mm-hmm. And here's what the Bible says. The Bible says, he who doesn't rule his own spirit. Mm-hmm. Come on, family. The person who doesn't rule his own spirit is like a city whose walls are broken down. There's no protection. There's no safety. There's no strategy.
Speak on it.
And bad things happen as a result of it. So I want to pray for the men. I want to pray for the young men. And I am going to set up, and you'll hear about it because I want to make certain that we have maximum participation. I'm going to find it a good time. But I want to talk to young people.
Talk to them, Pastor. Talk to them.
I want to talk to them. About self-control, emotional regulation, right? Respect, mutual respect, love, and de-escalation.
De-escalation.
Come on,
self-control, ladies, is not just men. Self-control is also not twerking your little booty up in the street. I just want you to know that. I know you think you're cute, and you probably are. But you don't need to put it out there for everybody to see, baby. Okay? It's not a liberation dance. Okay? It's not a liberation dance. I've been looking at it for years. I've had enough time in my life to study twerking because I went to Grambling State University in Louisiana, which is north of New Orleans, Louisiana, where the twerking started. And I can promise you that it is not a liberation dance. Okay, I learned that dance for the first time in 1992. My first year as a freshman at GSU. There's a lot of ladies that I didn't understand the words that were coming out of their mouth, but they did twerk on me. I didn't ask them to do it. I was just standing there minding my business with my white T-shirt with the crease in the middle, okay, with my swap meet jeans on. Minding my business. They start twerking on me. All right. So what I'm trying to say is your behavior in public is also a matter of self-control. You can't do everything you want to do. Not in this world that we live in. Let's let the pastor finish speaking.
Somebody. De-escalation.
De-escalation.
So let's be in prayer for that. Let's be in prayer for a lot of things. And family, please, as kingdom citizens, be angry but do not sin. Yes. Don't sin. I'll just take this liberty. Jesus said, the scriptures say, be angry.
In other words, don't kill people because they push you. That's what the pastor's saying. I'm gonna let him go on here and go back to the congregation. But you all get the point. Again, a lot of people have changed. You got young people, you got older people, you got politicians, you got folks saying this is not behavior that we want to live around. Now, you don't have to like it, but again, this is the great divide that you're dealing with right now. This is black people saying, hey, you know what? This sort of behavior is not acceptable. Okay? This is not acceptable. Matter of fact, let me let this is another young lady addressing Rick Ross. He decided to chime in. You all know Rick Ross. I'm the biggest boss. Now, I do remember his music. And do you all remember Rick Ross? And I'm talking about this fella right here who's a former corrections officer. Let's listen to him chastise society about this Karmelo Anthony conviction. I want you to listen to the irony. Okay, somebody type irony in the chat. Only my good spellers, not iron, irony. I want you to type irony in the chat room.
But for all the goofies, what we need to be discussing is how Karmelo Anthony just got a 35-year life sentence.
Because he was listening to Rick Ross's song, I'm the biggest boss that you've seen thus far. He was listening to that. Okay, he was listening to Maybach music. Okay, that's how he got. Somebody type irony.
The young brother that was never arrested before, clean record. They brought the pressure to him. What about that? What about the little young black brother that lost his life over that bottle of water?
He lost his life because the jury was tired of people in the community, young teenagers dying. The South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, the average shooting victim is 19. So the black jurors, the 5 of them that were there, they could have acquitted. They could have said, no, we're going to find this dude guilty. And they could have forced everybody. They could have done that, but they didn't, Rick Ross. They didn't do it. Okay? It's not about water, sir. It's about the degenerate culture, which is oftentimes reflected in hip-hop music, such as yours. Somebody type Maybach music in the chat room.
And that gentleman was found innocent. Y'all giggling at all the little black brothers. It's a war going on.
Sir, we're not giggling at it at all. We're not giggling at it at all. We think it's very serious. Okay, and people were saying that about your music. It's part of it. Now, I'm not saying I understand that music reflects life. I get that. Okay, I get what you're saying, but you still promoted that degenerate behavior, that destructive behavior, the drug dealing culture, the violent culture, and you yourself are a former prison guard, sir. You are a former CO. You were the police. You are a cop, as the prisoner say. You are a cop, so you yourself didn't have a criminal record, but you talked about gang culture, and you spoke about criminal activity. Oftentimes, it helped permeate the community. The great music, man. I love the music, but it's still the message in the music. Okay. So you're part of the problem. Somebody type irony in the chat room.
And the goofies don't see it.
Sir, you're correct. There is a war going on.
Yes.
My concern is that you don't see it. I murdered all of my foes. Contract killing.
Damn.
20K, I'll get your grandmammy pinned to the ceiling.
Damn.
Midst of war, I piss on graves. Kids get grazed by my piss poor ways. Do him in cold blood. Look him in his eyes. May do him with no gloves. Beat the case like Orenthal. Above the law, it's so hard to pin the big dog. Put Molly all in her champagne. She ain't even know it. I took her home and I enjoyed that. She ain't even know it. So let me get this straight. People like Rick Ross, who make the music that our generation of young black boys and girls listen to and consume regularly. People like Rick Ross who write these lyrics are the ones telling us that we should be concerned about our Karmelo Anthonys. They're the ones that say they care about our next generation. No, sir. Listen, if you say you can.
That's what he said, baby. He said that. That's what he said. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Care about the black community, but you condone music and lyrics like this. You condone leaders in the black community like this. You're propping up artists like this. You're playing artists like this. You're listening to crap like this in the black community. Don't tell me you care about the black community when this is what you are yes and amening to be filling the souls of our young people. Let's be honest. Like, why?
Somebody type boss in the chat room. I'm the biggest boss. Remember, that's what he was talking about. Now he's telling us about the crime issues. Okay, let's keep listening.
Why are we surprised in moments like this when we pump music like this into the black culture and we celebrate it and we listen to it and we go to their concerts and we buy the tickets and we follow them, all the things, and then we're trying to figure out why our young black men are responding by stabbing somebody, by shooting somebody? Guys.
And see, here's the thing. It's not so much that. It's also that people outside the culture are associating this sort of criminal activity and degenerate behavior with black people. That's what I want you all to understand. See, this is the message of who we are that's being pushed out into the greater world. We're represented by Rick Ross. We're represented by all these other rappers that all they did was talk about shooting, killing, and selling drugs. That's who we represented by. Name another culture that's represented by the most horrible group of people in the criminals in their community. I mean, the closest we can get is the Italians, and they still have to deal with that reputation. Every time you see an Italian, are you a mob guy? Are you a maid guy? Are you associated? These sort of things, and they don't like it. And I'm happy that's dying down for them. I know there's a lot of Italian people of Italian descent, listen, and they would tell you, we don't like that. But in the black community, right here and right now, we're associated, name all the little this one and little that one, and this one got shot, and these people from old block and this block and that block, and this is what we're dealing with. This is what our culture is associated with. So it's not just the fact that our young people are listening to it. The rest of the world perceives us as these degenerate, violent people based on our art and expression. Do you all see the problem? It's starting to make sense now. Somebody type coon in the chat room. I'm a coon for saying it. I'm a Sambo. I'm a Sambo for telling y'all that. I'm the bad guy. Not the people who've been pushing dope in the community and selling drugs and shooting other black people. No, the black lawyer is the bad guy. The black lawyer who stayed out of trouble, who raised his kids. Okay, I'm the sellout. Not the drug dealer that you promote. Not the gangbanger that you talk about free this. No, the lawyer and the doctor. We all sellouts. The engineer, the hardworking truck driver, the plumber, the engineer, we the sellouts in the community. I want you to think about that. I'm just saying, sounds to me like we may be off balance a little bit. I'm just saying. We still celebrating Nipsey Hussle. I know Nip. Y'all don't even know him, but y'all shedding tears for Nipsey Hussle. But that black man who's been working in the community, fixing, raising his kids and repairing air conditionings and staying out of trouble, and down there at the football field, who coaches your little league team or AU football team, oh, he's a nobody. He's just the N-word. I don't know. Sounds to me like our value system is a bit distorted. Or perhaps we don't know who the real sellouts are and who the real assets are to the community. I don't know. Y'all tell me. I don't know. Let's keep listening to the lady.
We have to get honest about the culture that we are living in, the culture that we're creating. Culture is created by what you celebrate and what you tolerate.
Harsh.
And I just have to say, to the black community, we are tolerating and celebrating a bunch of nonsense.
Bunch of degenerates. Not wrong. Is she wrong? Where was she wrong at? Where was her statement erroneous? I need to know where the statement was wrong. Didn't sound wrong to me. Sound like she was right on point. At what point do we begin to say, nah, that's not good for us to consume? We're good on that. Let's keep listening.
But there's a whole bunch of them. I don't believe it's fair to be cast.
Now, I'm not going to play this, but you guys kind of get the point. This guy is Stephen A. Smith. He's basically saying there's a lot more people who are out there who are conservative, and he's going to actually say it's a lot of athletes that are, but I don't want to get a community strike or anything for this. But you guys kind of get the point. It's a lot of black people out there who feel that way, but up until recently, you can't say nothing or people try to shame you and call you a sellout or a coon. And anytime you know, against degeneracy and low level activity and scummy behavior, you automatically become the bad guy. I found this skit to be funny. This is a skit. Listen to this.
Handle a classic chimp out session.
Hello. Yes.
You know, he said that's where he gets the Chud the Builder. Again, we ain't like Chud the Builder saying it, right? We don't like white people. We don't like white folk castigating us and saying these things, but you got black people, some black people saying the same thing. All right. I wouldn't use that terminology, but he's interacting with somebody. Listen to the conversation carefully. And many of us have had to deal with this. Let's listen.
So, you live where?
I live here.
You live over there.
Yes.
What the fuck is this shit? You think you're supposed to park in front of my fucking door and I can't unload my shit every fucking night?
Oh, I can.
Every fucking.
Lots of curse word, lots of profanity. Apparently, this is somewhere on the East Coast. This man is parked in front of her building. And she said, you can't park. It's a public street, right? His tax dollars pay for it too, I'm assuming.
I can move it. That's no problem.
No, you absolutely need to hurry up and move that shit.
Okay.
The fuck? Like, at least common fucking decency. People should be able to fucking share. I should be able to fucking unload my groceries. I shouldn't have to fucking walk up and down the block. Please hurry up and move.
Okay. What's your name, by the way?
Hurry up and move.
Well, I was just apologizing.
Hurry up and move.
Okay.
So as you
I mean, the man agreed to everything she said, but see, that's that escalation. She was escalating. Now, if you get two people together who want to escalate from that same degenerate mindset, it's going to end up being a fist fight in the street over a damn parking spot. And this is how you get black people stabbing people because they pushed you. You see that? You see how that works? Y'all mad now? Let me know if you're mad. Because you know it's the goddamn truth. We got situations where if you look at somebody the wrong way, they want to put a hole in you. You know goddamn well what happened with Karmelo Anthony. You ain't gonna move me. I wish you would. We knew just what goddamn well happened. And if that was two black boys underneath a bleacher, on a bleacher underneath a tent that neither one of them owned, it wouldn't be nothing of this. Y'all be calling Karmelo, man, you stupid, man. You stabbed somebody because you should have just left. You would have said that. We know what's going on in the black community. People die over tennis shoes in the black. We die over colors of the street you was raised on in the black community. You know goddamn well what's going on. Acting stupid. So you can try that with the rest of but you can't try it with me. I got a PhD in ghetto behavior. And y'all know damn well what I'm talking about. The vast majority, you can't even say nothing to black folk these days. Who you talking? Who you looking at? Ma'am, I just asked if you would, move your basket so I can get by. You better not say a goddamn thing to him. Everybody ain't sold out because they call you on your behavior. Everybody isn't a coon because they point out the degenerate no holds barred behavior where people feel like they can do and say whatever they want. And the first thing they touch me, touch me, touch me. I bet you won't touch me, touch me, touch me. That's the first thing they say. They egging you on, talking stuff, won't get off your property, and then what? Touch me. And then you end. That's why you can't say nothing. Why you think these women don't try to check these young women about twerking in the streets? There's some women right here. You don't want to say anything to these young girls out here. They'll cuss you out. They'll grab you by your hair and have you twisted up on the concrete. You know I'm telling the truth. You know I'm telling the truth. That's why these women don't say anything to these young women twerking. That's why these young men don't. That's why these men don't say anything to these young men. These young boys out here. There was a couple of situations. A man walked up on a young dude messing with his daughter, shot him in the chest. Daddy shot in the chest right in front of his daughter. This is where we are in Black America. And white folk don't want to live around it. Asian folk don't want to live around it. Latinos don't want to live around it. And black folk don't want to live around it. Y'all mad at me for telling the truth? While you sitting in your Mercedes, you got that Mercedes Benz in the driveway, way out in the suburbs somewhere, and won't go back to visit your old neighborhood for nothing. And you mad at me for telling the truth? You don't want to be around it. Go back to your old neighborhood other than going there on first Sunday for church. You get in and get out. You gonna stay? Y'all gonna stay for the picnic, the church retreat? No, we gonna go ahead and head on back home. Y'all live so far out. You know I'm telling the truth. You and your master's degree in business, your MBA, and your light-skinned children, and your BMW SUV are going straight back to that toll road. And you getting back to where you belong. You know I'm telling you the truth. And you wonder why these white folk don't want to be around you. We don't even want to be around us. Somebody type Great Divide in the chat room. Where's the lie? Where is the lie? You mad? Be mad. I told you I'm going to tell you the truth over here. I'm going to tell you the truth.
It's more dangerous. LA niggas.
I want you to hear the comparison conversations that black folk are having. Look, you would think they are talking about the New York Knicks versus the San Antonio Spurs lineup. I want you to listen to the conversation that these black people are having and are willing to have on social media where everybody can see it. Now, I want you to pretend like you are a person from Saudi Arabia who speaks English, and this is the first thing that popped up on your TikTok page. And tell me what your impression of black people is after listening.
Or Chirac niggas.
I ain't gonna lie, blood.
All right, so who do you think is more dangerous, LA niggas or Chirac niggas?
I ain't gonna lie, blood. That's not even a question, blood.
I was just gonna say you can't. Who's more dangerous? LA N-words or Chicago N-word? These are the conversations that we're putting on social media. This is what we're talking about. What does the rest of the world think? I know it's racism, right? It's racist, bigotry. This is what we're promoting. This is on the algorithm. All you got to do is scroll through TikTok. This is our representation. This is our representation. And so when young people see this, they say like, oh, that's how we're supposed to behave. There's the pattern. Let me go ahead and pack this semi-automatic handgun and go up to the store and steal some water. Or let me go ahead and put this knife in this backpack. This is the message sending out. Now, who's mad? Come on, type sell out. Boom, put that in the chat room. Go ahead and type that and put Sambo in the chat. I want to hear all that. These are the conversations that we're having. And then you get mad when somebody said, well, look, this is going to be the effect. You got a black boy in front of an all-right jury. They're going to say, well, hell, this is how these people are. Look at this type of stuff they talk about in their culture. How do you fix this? You divide yourself. That's how you fix it. That's how you fix it. Somebody type great separation in the chat room. Nothing you can do about it but separate yourself. But let's keep listening.
You can't even compare
See, look, this is the difference though now, yeah, because you can't really compare, because it's like a how can I put it, folks? It's like a neighborhood thing. Like, y'all really ain't got no trenches for real, Scud. Y'all probably do is probably some shit we never heard of. We got real trenches, blood. And I'll be like the next alley down from us and shit.
This
Like,
is
you know?
something to be proud of.
So it really be going on.
This is something
It's
to be
block.
proud
I
of.
ain't seen no gangster shit happen in LA. I didn't. From
They proud of. Y'all ain't got no real trenches. They proud of this. This is what we proud of. Oh no, I started a business. Yeah, man. I started my own LLC. I started my own corp. This is what we proud of, fam. This is our value system. And you wonder why folk want to get away from us. And you wonder why people are tired. Somebody tired. What they call it, black fatigue. This is why. This is what we sanction and justify. This is what we put up there. Look at all them people looking at it.
From nobody.
Nah.
Nobody. I don't even know who from LA be doing shit to nobody. I never even heard nothing from LA. I swear to God. Like, I'm not lying. Like, I would really tell y'all, get them people their credit. Like, I'm really not lying. I just don't know nothing about LA. Like, this where we come at it chill. Like, you know? Like the hookahs.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
You know who I heard about? And they ain't even gonna mention that. Matter of fact, I ain't even gonna mention it. Because they fighting some shit right now. There's only one nigga I heard about. I swear to God. And that's because they got some shit going on with them from the city.
This is us. That's us. That's where we are. That's where we are. Y'all proud of it. Y'all proud of it. Same. You got to be proud of it, aren't you? You have to be. You condone it. This is the product. These are the people that speak for us. Dear black community, these are the people that speak for. I know you said no, they do. Yes, they do. That view has thousands of views. Nobody called them a sellout. Nobody called them coons. Nobody called them. No, you call the people who call that out. You call them the sellouts and coons. That's an ass backward way of thinking. To me, in my opinion, that's what I think. But we'll continue. Let's keep on listening. Since, we're going to keep listening, right? Y'all still with me? Let's keep listening.
Will become like the poster children for the black community. Like, we have so much better examples in our community, and I see black men going out and doing shit like this, embarrassing us.
God, this is a person that don't believe it's black people in Alaska.
Hey, fuck you mean, nigga, mobbing this bitch? What the fuck you mean? I'm black, baby. OT ass nigga.
Hey, mobbing this bitch ganging. We don't claim you, nigga. Like, that's not the black in Alaska. That's the ghetto in Alaska. We don't claim that shit no more. Shit don't do nothing but damage our community. That ghetto shit, that shit is dead. That shit on the floor. We done with it. Just leave it in the past, bro. Real black excellence. We done with that shit.
Shout out to that young man. And shout out to all you young people who are walking away from that ghetto degenerate culture and who are speaking up against it. It's the culture of your parents. It's the culture of your grandparents. And I appreciate your strength. I appreciate you saying, no, we denounce that. It's not acceptable, because that reputation that you purvey is what you're going to have to live and die by. Your children are now suffering from that degenerate behavior that we produced in the 1980s, 1990s, 1970s, 1960s, early 2000s. Your children are now being convicted. Your children are now not being seen as perpetrators when they are truly victims. And I'm a shout out to all these young people who are tired of it. I'm tired of it for them. I appreciate it. I bet you won't call them coons. I bet you won't, because they outnumber your old butts. See, a lot of people want to maintain that same stereotypic view because they benefit from that. They like to name call people especially people who are more successful than them. Oh, you just bought off. You an agent. Somebody type agent in the chat room. Everybody say I'm an agent. Where's my check at? If I'm an agent, who's paying me? I don't think you all realize. First of all, let me give you all some context cues. I don't code switch. I come to the public and I speak to you the same way I speak to anybody else. I'm not in here, yeah, well, I don't know. See, I don't code switch. So what does that tell you about me? That tells me that I am not concerned about what people perceive me as. I'm going to tell it like it is. I work for myself. I don't need you. I don't want your money. I don't ask for your money. That you can't buy me because money is not something I'm interested in at this point in my life. I'm concerned about my legacy. And my legacy is centered around the truth. What did this man do on this planet? He brought truth. People are afraid of the black culture. He brought truth to the black culture to help it correct itself. He spoke truth. He was accurate. He did the research. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. And whether you like it or not, it don't matter to me, because I know that my children and your children are going to have to live in this culture, in this society. And we have an obligation to force it to change for the better. So you can't buy me. You don't have enough money to buy me. Money doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I've had enough of it. I was telling my son on Father's Day, I've had every car that I wanted to have. When the car wasn't available, I created the car. I've had all the beautiful, I have had a buffet of beautiful women. I don't want money. Had that, had all the cars, had all the women I want, lived every place that I wanted to live. And so the only thing left for me to do is speak the truth and focus on my legacy and the well-being of my children, and God willing, I'll have some grandchildren. But they're going to live and die by that reputation. So ain't nothing you can do with me. People have tried over the past 5 years. Some angry black women mad at me because I was talking about twerking. And I was saying, hey, they're going to start targeting black women. You're going to be targeted and you're going to get ostracized. They said, oh, you don't like black women. Was I accurate? Did it get better or worse for black women over the past 2 or 3 years? Huh? Was I accurate? All my fellas, Mark the Freelancer, all my ICE lords who've been here. Tell these people what I've been saying for years, and you see it happening. I've been talking about the degenerate behavior of these young black boys for years. I've been putting videos up of me. This is how you treat your son. This is what you do with your son. You make him do this, make him do that. And many brothers have said, yeah, I'm going to go with what Uncle D say do. And it's worked for him. So you don't have to like what I say, because I know what I'm telling you is the truth. I study history. I study society. I study social norms. I don't come on here unprepared. Even these conversations that I'm having, these videos discuss historically based. I'm not one of these convicts that come on here and hide behind the screen. You know my name, my phone number, my email address. You can Google me. See, I'm here for you. I'm not running. The last thing you should be listening to somebody who hides behind a screen. They don't have courage. Never listen to a coward. So that's where I'm at. But we got a couple more videos. Let's listen to a couple more videos, and we'll keep it pushing.
Sign. Whoa. Don't get pissed off at me. Don't get mad at me. This is what they want. They have a problem with Asian people. They have a problem with Mexican people. They have a problem with white people. They have a problem with fucking everyone. If you're not black, they don't want to be around you. They don't give a shit about you. They think that you need to give them fucking everything. And if you fucking don't, then you're racist.
Family friendly, excuse the foul language, but people, you know how it is. People express themselves with language like that. But
You're the problem. You're this, you're that, you're the third. Hell no. Let's give them what they want. Like I said, there's no bigger advocate for segregation more than black folk. I don't give a shit what you say about this video or how angry or what the fuck ever.
Listen.
Let's bring back the no black sign. Let's bring it back. They can shop in their local black stores. Oh, black-owned businesses that they keep burning down and everything like that. They fuck up their own communities. They're doing stupid shit all the time in their own communities. They're taking each other's lives at a significantly higher rate than anybody else. Okay, bet. Let's give them what they want, because I don't understand. I don't understand. We want to be treated equal. You are. You are. You're being held to a standard that is for everyone. But
have you all ever been called out? So a lot of black people say bring back segregation. Y'all remember? Do y'all really want to live next to those people you moved away from in the ghetto? Black people, all the black people with your Mercedes Benz and your BMW and your Range Rover. Do you really want to move next to those black people again? Huh? Is that what you want? Let me give y'all some historical context. So you've heard of the first migration and the second migration. This is when black people moved out of the South. From about 1880 to about 1820-ish, more or less. Black folks, that was the first migration. The South had got bad, segregation had ended, Reconstruction had ended. White folk came back in and they was kicking butt. So we moved to places like Kansas. They would always had enclaves of black people all around, but those new black people moved from the rural South. And so you had these enclaves of black people in places like Detroit and Los Angeles. And so you had these black people straight out the country ghetto black people shooting and killing and chickens in the front yard and all that. And you had these sophisticated black people like, damn, man, they moving us in here. Now, moving in here from these places. And so this is between 1800, 1880, 1920, more or less. And so those people were unacculturated, if you will. All right. And there's a gentleman named Thomas Sowell. The truth is, I've just been introduced to him about 4 or 5 years ago. I just saw some of his videos and then purchased some of his books. But he refers to it as unacculturated black people moving out of the South. And they came to these black enclaves in places like Los Angeles. And these folks was like, man, they are tearing this place up. More importantly, the white folk who had been accepting integration from what we'll call acculturated or sophisticated black folks said, no, all y'all need to go live together. And that's why segregation kicked back up in the 1920s and between the 1880s and the 1920s, because you had all these black folk cutting the fool and acting, coming up from places like Mississippi, Alabama, country is a brown egg, and they were tired of it. And so then that kind of subsided, and then World War II happened. So around about 1940, 1941, you had more black people moving to places like Los Angeles and these other cities because they needed manpower to come in and help them work on these in the war effort, building tanks, supplies, et cetera, et cetera. And so again, you had another influx of black people. They were saying, the black people in Los Angeles saying, you're gonna have 1,000 Negroes a week, 1,000, and where they gonna live? The white folk like, look, these are your people. We might have accepted you, but we're not gonna accept them. And so that's how segregation kicked back up again. We don't want you Negroes coming past Main Street. Okay, so you understand that all black people are going to suffer the degenerate behavior and experience it if we go back to segregation. You're going to have to live next to it. And we've been through this before, whether we're talking about the first migration between 1880 to 1920 and the second migration of black folks out of the South, unadulterated country, or we would call them ghetto black people coming up after the 1940s. We all get in there. We all have to suffer. And so when you start talking about we were better doing segregation, do you really want to live next to these people that you moved away from your old neighborhood? Do you want the crackheads from your old neighborhood to move forced? Do you want to be forced to move back to your old neighborhood? When you start, or do you want to have the freedom of moving around and living where you want to? I'm just saying. I'm just asking questions. Somebody type asking questions. Again, I'm asking questions. You don't have to like what I'm saying, but it's hard to hear from people like this, huh? It's hard to hear. But we've had to deal with that before, and it set us back decades, centuries, if you will. Okay, because we've always had sophisticated groups of black people in the in the United States, but every time we're forced to have to deal with the unadulterated ghetto neighbors, country neighbors, cut up and act a fool, it brings us all down because they don't see us as separate. We all black. We all N-words. You see, we all degenerate behavior. Cops see you He see them. He doesn't even see the difference. Same thing with trying to get a job, trying to get housing. They don't want to live next to that. It's a bad reputation. And you see what type of image we putting out there.
You don't like it, but you don't like it. And you scream racism for everything. Everything. The word racist has become moot, has become nothing, has been so diluted because everything is racist to you guys. A black kid stabs a kid in the heart and he gets 35 years, only 35 years. Racism, racism. The courts and the Texans and blah, blah, blah are all against them because they hate black people. Fuck you. Dude, I'm just at that point. And I got black siblings. I got a black stepdad. I got black people all in my fucking entire history of life.
That dude said, I got a black stepdad. Is that why you angry, sir? Because your mama is banging a black man? I'm just saying, you got black siblings. I don't know. Seems a little pent up there. You're going to have a very interesting Thanksgiving dinner. I'm going to let him go ahead and finish.
And I love these people and I would die for these people. But at the same time, other people, other black people are sitting there screaming that everything is racist. I can't fucking handle it anymore. Give them what they want, dude. Give them what the fuck they want. Leave them to their own shit. And let's see how well that fucking works out for them. Because they don't understand that they are the problem in their own fucking community. I'm just done. I'm just done.
Now, again, we can talk about the social and financial issues like redlining and all those other issues. But at some point, we also have to address personal conduct. Okay. And a lot of the issues that we're dealing with in the black community has to do with personal conduct. Nobody told you to take that brick and throw it into somebody's window and run away. The white man didn't do that. You did that on your own. Okay, at some point, we have to just start taking responsibility for some of our behavior. And it also has to do with the fact that parental supervision. Now, dads, fathers, I know we got a lot of involved black fathers, but unfortunately, you all are gentle parents too. Somebody type gentle parenting. We have a lot of gently parented black. You don't like the way you were treated, okay? And some of y'all overdo it. But I'm gonna let y'all listen to this brother talk about father authority or black male authority in the family. Listen to the brother.
Young 15-year-old black kid shot point blank in New York. Fatherless kids all around. You can tell all these kids around them sitting there watching, ain't got no daddies at home. It's disgusting, man. The way that this entire nation has turned. These fatherless kids are harassing the streets. I go into the courtrooms every week and see these kids. You look across, ain't no daddies in there. 1 out of 20 may have a daddy in the courtroom where these kids are the ones out violating our communities in our neighborhood, and almost all of them are black. But then we want to talk about all these social justice issues and these issues and that issues. The issue is we ain't got black daddies in the house.
And see, here's the thing, and look, we do have some black daddies in the house. But if you're a black daddy in the house and you're neutered, in other words, your woman is telling you what you can and can't do with your kids and threatening to call the police on you, and you got daughters that are out of pocket and threatening to call the police and this, that, and the other, then you're neutered. You can't put that authority down. Let me tell you something. I know y'all might not like to hear what I have to say. And I know. But at a young age, you got to instill the fear of God into your children. And you need to be sitting as God in that place. They need to fear you. Don't try to be your children's friends when they're little. Scare them to death. Threats, scaring them, and sometimes corporal punishment, because that's the only thing to work. That fear and reservation, that fear and reverence that they have for you is the same that they're gonna have for authority. You got to do it. You can't be a daddy and be the good guy in the relation. You can't be the good guy. You're not their friends. There'll be time enough for you to be friends with your children when they become adults. As their children, you don't need to be their friends. And the respect they have with you is going to be the same respect they have for authority. Their teachers, the the cops, the other law enforcement figures they deal with, other adults. That's how you do it. And I know that's not popular to say. And we got a lot of mothers who will jump in and say, oh, you being too hard on my baby. You saving your son's life, especially. You saving your daughter's life. I'm trying to help y'all. It's hard to raise children in 2026. But what we can't lose is the fact that the kids need to learn to respect authority. You don't have to like what I'm saying. I got 3 boys, and I see how it works. I know it worked for me. I come from a long line of very harsh, disciplinary, oriented black men. And that's why I'm successful, because without discipline, it's like having you got a wild stallion running around the countryside. But we'll let the brother finish speaking. You know, you want to keep your son out of the penitentiary? Teach him some discipline early and self-control.
And this is a problem that we need to try to fix as black men. We are letting our own communities and our country down. We're a disgrace to the world. Disgrace to the world. 70% of our kids ain't got no mom and daddy together in the house with them raising them. And we don't think that's a problem? It's biblical. The last verse of the Old Testament. He shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. The curse that we're seeing right now is that curse, the fatherlessness curse.
Now, I'm going to take the time to address this because a brother said this, and I don't want to take the time. But he made a good point. Nobody is asking. Brother, I'm trying to find a brother's quote. He said, nobody is asking why the fathers aren't in the house. Okay? Nobody's asking why the fathers aren't in the house. And that's a very good question. It's a very good question. And I'm going to take the opportunity to address that question. I divorced my first wife when my oldest son was 2.5 and my middle son was 1. I fought for extra time. I spent money with lawyers. I only had my children on paper 6 days out the month. But what I would do is I would offer to pick my children up from school, which usually lets out daycare, let out, and then they'll get out by 6. So I'd have to pick them up by 5:30 and take them to extracurricular activities that I paid for, like karate and jujitsu and other sorts of sports. That presented me with an opportunity to see my children almost every day, even if they didn't spend the night. So what I did, fellas, was I understood that I was divorced from my ex-wife, but I didn't allow that to separate me from my children. So in effect, I would see my children Monday, I would see them Tuesday, I would see them Wednesday, I would see them Thursday, and maybe I wouldn't see them Friday, but I would see them again the following Monday. Now, on those weekends where I had them, I'd see them every day. And in that 30-minute time period, I get a chance to debrief them. How was your day? That 30-minute drive, driving over to the activity, sit on the side, watch them do their activity for an hour, and then 30 minutes driving back home to their mama's house. I made that sacrifice because these are my children. See, you don't ask the question, why isn't the father there? What you do is try to figure out, how can I be present in my children's life? Because kids don't care why you're not there. All they know is you weren't there. They don't care if mama put you on child support. They don't care if, you had a bad relationship with your mom. I didn't even have to see their mother. I simply picked them up at school, dropped them off in front of their house, and they went on in. I watched them walk in, and I went on about my day. I would travel overseas. I'm literally the OG passport bro. I would leave this country. My kids would go home on Sunday at 6 p.m. By Monday at 6 a.m., I was at the airport. And those weekends when I didn't have them, I would take a 9-day trip. But I would be back on Thursday or Wednesday. so that I can pick them up Thursday from school just so I can have my 2-hour visit. And everything else I negotiated with their mother home. I did a little tricking on their mama, bought her some gifts, made sure they took her flowers for Valentine's Day, make sure they bought their mama gifts. That's what you have to do. If she has the power, that's what you got to deal with. You got to play the game. I had a whole TV show called Co-Parenting with the Spurlings dedicated to all the sycophanted butt kissing I did to my ex-wife just so I could have time with my children. Because that's the sacrifice. Big old me with my big old ego had to bow down. And see, now here we are. I have a great relationship with my older sons. Now, my youngest son, because I didn't learn the first time. My youngest son. It's been hell. I've spent $160,000. $160,000 fighting in court for my youngest son. I didn't marry that woman. I was like, I ain't gonna get married. I'm gonna just have a baby. Stupid me. But the bottom line is I never stopped fighting. So my son knows, hey, and eventually began to pay off about 4 years ago. He started having to come out here on a regular basis. Cost me a lot of money. But again, nothing is more important than your children. Some of y'all live in the same town with y'all baby mamas. Let's just keep it 100. Some of y'all, I was once told, man, you got to keep it the way you got her. If you was tricking and paying, keep tricking and paying so you can see your kids. You got to appease that taming of the shrew. You got to do what you got to do. It's not going to last forever. The truth is, from about 1 to 10 years old, 11, 12 years old, that's when you need to spend an intense amount of time with your children. Really, for fathers, it's somewhere, especially boys from about 4 to about 14. After that, they don't need you anymore like that. They know who their father is. They have a relationship with you. But you have to make that sacrifice. Otherwise, your seed, your legacy, and I've already told you guys the most important thing to me is my legacy, which means, and the most important aspect of that is my children. And you have to put your children first. It's no longer about you. It's no longer about your ego. It's about your sons. So I really don't want to hear the excuse of why you can't spend time with your sons and your daughters because the baby mama is mean or your ex-wife is mean. You got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got. Yeah, she got a new boyfriend. Say hello to him. You understand what I'm saying? It's about the kids at that point. You got to suck it up, fellas. You don't have to like her. It was at some point I got an Uber to pick my kids up and bring them to I was like, praise God. I ain't got to see them no more. You understand? But you got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do, fellas. But or don't have them. If you're not prepared to be a sycophant, look, the laws give the women the kids. And the truth is you want it that way. Let me be honest. I know I shouldn't be going on over there. Oh, Lord, you don't want to watch them kids. You don't want to take those kids when they got ear infections. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that, fellas. We see how fathers watch their kids. Get up. All right. Hold on there. You're not prepared to do that. You prepared to do what society typically says. Work, get up, make some money, pay your little child support. But you got to go that extra effort for your kids, man. It is what it is. I've been on child support damn near 20 years. On top of all the other stuff. So I don't really want to hear it. If your children are important to you, you'll spend money on. You can't look. I just really started spending money on myself. I focus all my money on my kids, on my children. I'm just saying, family, and they recognize that. That's why we had a relationship that we do. They know that daddy fought for them. Come over here. Come over here. I know you're busy. I know you got stuff to do. Come on over here. Come on over here. Come down here. This is one of them. I think he thinks he's a redneck truck driver. How you doing, sir? That's a nice hat you got on. What is that thing? Huh? Look, I'm trying to explain to these people all the stuff I did when you was a little boy. Remember how you tell them how your average day when you were little, when we used to go across town to Black Ride. Tell them about your average week. Introduce yourself to the people first. This is the third. Somebody typed the third in the chat room. This is Dennis Spurling the third. Go ahead. Technically, but not technically. Go ahead, sir. Please explain to them.
On Mondays after school, you pick us up and then we go to I think Black Karate and
What is? They don't know what Black Karate.
Sorry,
Explain
our Kung Fu class.
Kung Fu.
And then after that, on Tuesdays we would go to our jiu-jitsu class at like 5, and then and then I think we like switch between the two in the week, and like up until Friday we ended on jiu-jitsu again, I think, and then on Saturday and Sunday we go to Shotokan at 9.
And who would take you to these things? Our dad. Would that be me?
Yes.
Would I pick you up in my own car?
Yes.
Okay. So, and how long did I do that? How many years did I do that?
Until like 2018, so like 6 years.
6 years. When did you start doing Black Karate? How old were you?
It was 2012. I was like 7.
Well, I think you was 6.
Oh.
No, you was 7. You might have been. It was 2013, and then Roman started right after you, right?
Yes.
So what did you realize that you drive now, right?
Yes.
You see how much driving that is that our daddy was doing in the car?
Yes.
It's a lot of driving, huh? Do you realize now why I went to go pick you up and spent that time with you?
So that we could have like a relationship with you as our dads. He talk to us.
Did Daddy talk a lot in the car on the ride over?
Yes.
What did I talk about in the car on the ride? A lot of stuff.
Yes.
What kind of stuff did I talk about in the car?
You would tell us that like controlling our emotions.
Oh, what did Daddy tell you about controlling your emotions? What was the easy to remember phrase that I taught you when you were a little boy about controlling your emotions?
Control your emotions, or your emotions will control you.
Say it loud.
Control your emotions, or your emotions will control you.
And how old were you when I start brainwashing you with that rhetoric?
6.
You got somewhere to go? Let me see your phone. Who's this calling us? We busy. We talking to the people. You want your little college tuition paid? You better talk to these people. Tell them. Go ahead. By the way, he's an engineering student. What's the engineering? What kind of engineering is it?
Civil engineering.
He's a civil engineering student. And he just finished his first year of college. And how many credit hours do you have?
46.
He has 46, and he's current taking how many more?
9.
9 credit hours in the summer. And why are you taking all these credit hours? And you only supposed to have 30 for the first year. And how many do you have?
I have 46.
And how many more are you going to have when you finish?
When I finish this class, I should have 55.
That's his first year of college. And why is it that you're moving so fast to get through college?
I want to graduate early.
And who put that on you, man?
Both of us.
Oh, boy, you trying to, boy. Anyway. All right, man, I'm going to let it. He got stuff to do. He's a college man. But my whole point is, man, say this. Did that help us form a relationship that because of those little times I spent with you, did that help you learn your daddy more? And you think you'd be the same person if I just saw you 6 days a week, like the schedule said, do you think we'd have the same relationship? Did I pay for all these activities, all these made up activities and stuff like that?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? That's the sacrifice you made. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Sir, go ahead and hop in the big rig. Get anyone wants to send him a trucker hat, go ahead. I'll make sure he goes ahead and wears that for you. If you have a trucker business or something like that. See you later, sir. Please don't park on the grass with your big rig. But anyway, so again, family, you know, the proof is in the pudding. I'm trying to tell y'all that you have to make that sacrifice for you. Now, I got 3 of them. I got That was this one. I got that one over there and that one over there. He's very soft-spoken, very quiet, very kind young man. He just started his own little construction business. I thought that was pretty cool. But anyway, family, like I said, you got to make that sacrifice for fatherhood. And that's one of the keys moving forward in the Black community. Now, again, the whole conversation we had is a divide Black America exposed by Karmelo and Cyrus Belfort. But unfortunately, instead of dealing with the facts, instead of dealing with the law, instead of dealing with the culture, and instead of dealing with numbers, people start calling each other names. On one side, you got Black people saying that they're tired of the degenerate behavior and the reckless behavior and the low-level thinking and bad decisions being defended in the name of Blackness. And they're saying we're tired of being told that every time a Black person does something wrong, we've got to defend it because the person is Black. But on the other side, you've got Black people saying, no, you people are Sambos and Coons and Uncle Toms. And that's the language they use when they can't answer the argument. They don't want to deal with the facts, so they try to shame you. They don't want to deal with the law, so they try to attack your Blackness. They don't want to deal with the culture, so they try to make you feel like you betrayed the race. So let's deal with those words, okay? And as I always say in this chat room, man, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you hadn't already. And because I want to get to 200,000. All right. And shout out to everybody who came through from Willie D's channel. I appreciate all y'all. But look, check this out, man. I want to deal with these name calling words. I want to talk about the history of them. All right, because a lot of people use terms like Sambo and Coon and Uncle Tom without even knowing where these words came from. And these weren't just random insults. These were racist stereotypes created in a white supremacist society to mock, control, and dehumanize Black people. Sambo became tied to the image of a childish, obedient Black person who's supposedly satisfied with being controlled. It was used to make Black people look simple, harmless, and naturally submissive. Coon came from out of a minstrel show and blackface entertainment. And it was also a word used to basically mock Black people, call them lazy and loud and foolish and dishonest and clownish. And that image was used to make Black people look like jokes instead of serious human beings. Uncle Tom came from Uncle Tom's Cabin. And but over time, the original Uncle Tom character was more complicated, but in American culture, the term became an insult for Black people, who were too submissive to white folk or white power, or willing to betray Black interests for acceptance. Now, so to understand what's happening when Black people call other Black people Sambos and Coons and Uncle Tom, they're taking old racist language and using it against each other. These were words created to reduce Black people. These were words created to make Black people look stupid or weak or childish or clownish or disloyal. And now some Black people use the same words whenever another Black person says, I believe in the law. I believe in order. I believe in discipline. I believe in family. What's wrong with that? I believe in education. Why is there something wrong with that? Huh? I believe children need to learn self-control. And see, when you realize that, you realize that's how backwards this conversation has become. A Black person can say our kids shouldn't stab people, our kids shouldn't crash out, our kids shouldn't throw their lives away, our kids shouldn't confuse pride with self-defense. And the response from some people is, you're a coon. And that's not an argument. That is emotional manipulation. And see, here's the thing. That old shaming language isn't going to work anymore. Black America has changed. Somebody typed the Great Separation. In the 1960s, a much larger percentage of Black people were poor. than they are now. See, in 1959, more than half of black people lived below the poverty line. Some say it was as much as 55%. By 2020, the official black poverty rate had fallen to 17.1%. That means over 80% of black Americans were not living below the official poverty line. That doesn't mean everybody was rich. That doesn't mean everybody is comfortable. And it doesn't mean, but it does mean that black America isn't majority poor anymore, stuck in the ghetto. And when I talk about black middle class, I'm not just throwing around nice sounding phrase. Pew Research defines middle income households as households making between 2/3 and double the national median income. So that's anywhere from $61,000 to $183,000 a year. So when I say black middle class, I'm talking about people in that range. I'm talking about black households making enough money to buy homes, pay mortgages, send their kids to school, buy cars, start businesses, invest in travel, build some level of stability. And when I say upper middle class or rich black people, I'm talking about households making above that range, and people with high incomes and businesses and investments, professional license, real estate, and assets. And see, that matters because people's values change when their income and their education and their life situation change. You start changing. So if you have that many black people who move to the middle class, that means that many black people's perspective and value system has changed. And nothing wrong with poor people. We're not saying that you can't have values or middle class values, but you had to have them to get to where you are because you rearrange your priorities. And so a black person who's trying to protect the mortgage isn't thinking the same way as somebody with nothing to lose. A black parent who's paying for school and paying for tuition isn't thinking the same way as somebody who doesn't care whether the school system collapses or not. A black business owner who's got payroll and taxes and insurance and employees and contracts isn't thinking the same way as somebody who thinks everything is about a protest or emotion. A black lawyer like myself, a doctor, an engineer, a nurse, a teacher, a police officer, firefighter, hell, somebody who owns a trucking company, a real estate agent, even our skilled tradesman it isn't automatically going to take advice from somebody who hasn't built anything and doesn't own anything and doesn't have anything to lose just because they call him a coon. And see, that's the part people don't want to say out loud, but I'll say it. Successful people don't usually take life advice from unsuccessful people. People with stable homes don't take advice from people with unstable homes. I want you to think about what I just said. That's revolutionary. And see, that's the part people don't want to say out loud. Why would a rich person take financial advice from a person that's broke? People with businesses don't usually take advice from people who've never built a business. People who figured out how to survive and move up in America don't usually take survival advice from people who are still stuck in chaos. And I'm not being mean, that's just how life works. So when you call a successful black person a coon, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think he's going to stop paying his mortgage? Do you think she's going to stop sending her child to college? Do you think he's going to close his business? Do you think she's going to move back to the hood to prove she's black? Do you think they're going to stop investing and stop getting married and stop buying property and stop protecting their children and stop building wealth because somebody on the internet called them Uncle Tom? That's not happening. And in fact, the opposite is happening. The more successful black people become, the more they move away from the chaos, both mentally and physically. They move away from the dangerous neighborhoods. They move away from the mentality that caused those dangerous neighborhoods. They move away from people who normalize criminal behavior. They move away from people who think every bad decision is somebody else's fault. They move away from people who shame education, who shame marriage, who shame ownership, who shame discipline, who shame responsibility. And once they move away, the insults don't hit the same no more. You just long distance. You can call them whatever you want, but they're not listening the way they used to, the way they had to. And that's why this old language is failing. Sambo, Coon, Uncle Tom. It used to work because a lot of black people were trapped in the same economic, social spaces. If everybody was in the same ghetto or neighborhood, the same church, the same school system, the same job market, the same social circle, shame had power back then. That's when people like Umar Johnson, that's where he got his playbook from. All these men and women out here dating white folk, and he don't get them decent black dudes right here got their own personal snow bunny right now, be sitting up laughing at Umar Johnson. Same thing for black women. We don't go to church together. We don't see each other. They can just turn you right off and you never exist. See, when people move up, they move out. And when they move out, they build new networks. When they build new networks, they stop needing approval from people who are still stuck. And when they stop needing that approval, the old insults lose power. They don't care what you think. And that's what you're seeing right now. A growing number of black people aren't scared of being called names anymore. They're not scared of being called conservative. They're not scared of being called bougie. They're not scared of being called boule or sellout or coon. They're saying, call me whatever you want, but my kids aren't going to be raised, they're going to be raised with standards. My family is going to be protected. My money is going to be managed. My household is going to be stable and in order. My children are going to understand the law and the consequences of breaking the law. And I'm not going to defend foolishness just to prove I'm down and I'm black. And that's why this Karmelo Anthony conversation has hit such a nerve, because this case didn't just divide people over the verdict. It divided people, black people, over our values. Which direction are we headed? One side saying a black child was convicted, so we're going to just defend him no matter what. And the other side is saying a black child made a bad decision. Even if we don't explain the decision honestly, more black children are going to make that same mistake if we don't. And one side is trying to shame that group of black people with insults. And the other side is saying that shame doesn't work on me, because I'm not building my life around your ghetto approval. So let's be clear. Calling people these names, Sambo, Coon, Uncle Tom, Boule, Bougie, it ain't going to stop nothing. It's not going to stop the conversation. You are not in their tax bracket. You are not in their clubs. You're not in their organizations. You're not in their peripheral. You're not even in their rear view mirror. They so far removed from you. It's not going to stop black people from demanding discipline. It's not going to stop black people from wanting safe communities. It's not going to stop black parents from telling their black children to walk away, not the ones who love them. It's certainly not going to stop black professionals from saying the law that matters. And that's what you heard me say. And it's not going to stop black families from moving away from that dysfunction and calling it out when they see it. We are returning to values that actually produce stability like we had before the 1950s. And that shaming language is failing because the audience has changed. Black America isn't majority poor anymore. Black America has more college graduates, more homeowners, more professionals, more business owners, more people trying to protect what they built and have a lot to lose. And those people aren't going to let broke, angry, unstable, or reckless black people define what blackness is for us. They're not going to let the loudest people set the standard. They're not going to let people who defend chaos tell them they betrayed the race because they believe in order. And that's the real divide. See, this is not just a left versus right. It's not just Willie D versus Dennis Spurling. It's not just old versus young. It's not just poor versus rich. It's a divide between people still thinking racial loyalty means defending everything that a black person does, no matter how degenerate or how wrong. And people who believe real racial loyalty means telling black people the truth before the world punishes them, as you see them setting up to do. See, I'm on the side of telling the truth. Shout out to Everett Overton. Thank you so much for the $99.99. And see, there's another reason that this shaming language is failing. Black people we don't live around y'all no more, man. We not in the old hood. It doesn't have the same power it used to have. In many of these cities, the hood has been gentrified. It's been redeveloped. It's been priced out. It's been broken up or scattered. And even where the hood still exists physically, it doesn't control black social life the same way it did in the 1950s and the 1960s and the 1970s. The street don't run shit no more in the black community. See, back then it was much easier to give another black person a piece of your mind because black people still heavily packed into the same neighborhoods and went to the same churches and the same schools, and we went to the same barbershops and the same beauty shops, same social clubs, same family networks. If somebody call you out your name or question your dedication to the community, they call you Uncle Tom or sellout, that could follow you around your whole community. Your pastor might hear about it. Your teacher might hear about it. Your mother's friends might hear about it. Your neighbors might hear about it. Your cousins might hear about it. That kind of shame had power because the black community is more socially close. But that world has faded. The people aren't all in the same places anymore. They don't all go to the same churches. Their children don't attend the same schools. We don't all live in the same neighborhoods. Hell, they all don't marry the same kind of people. You know what I find ironic? All these so-called pro-blacks, most of them got white girlfriends, white baby mamas. Have y'all noticed that? Have y'all noticed that? Long-lasting relationship. That's the irony. Somebody type irony in the chat room. Your favorite pro-blacks got white women in their life. Did y'all know that? Huh? They don't tell you. See? But back to what I was saying, we don't socialize in the same circles anymore. See, the only way shaming works is if you have some control over people's social world. Shame works when the people around that person care about your opinion. See, shame works when the person being attacked needs acceptance from your group. Shame works when you can embarrass somebody in front of people whose respect they need. But if that person doesn't live near you, is not in the same social circles, doesn't go to the same church, doesn't need your approval, and doesn't care what your friends think, then what power do you really have over them? None. And see, one of the real consequences of desegregation is that people don't like to discuss is that desegregation didn't just open doors for black people. It also allowed black people to flee. Somebody type escape. It allowed black people to flee, escape from each other. And I'm using that word purpose, the flee, because black people were forced to stay together during segregation. Upper middle class black people, middle class black people, working class black people, all forced to stay around poor black people. We're all pushing the same racially segregated spaces because white society didn't allow full access anywhere else. So even if you had money and education and business and a different value system, a good job or professional title you had earned, you're still forced to live near and interact with people who had a different value system. You had to deal with the degenerates. Your daughter had to walk down the same street as them lowlifes sitting on the corner. You understand? They had to put on that facade. They had to pretend like they're tough. They had to lean their shoulders forward. They couldn't be as feminine because they had to walk and catch that bus or catch that train. Now, it created a shared black world. We had strong institutions, had black church, black schools, black business district, black newspapers, black civic clubs, black professional networks. But we were forced together. That's not freedom, is it? If at the point somebody gives you freedom and all that breaks up, that means y'all didn't want to be with each other in the first place, right? See, we were forced together because we couldn't separate ourselves. And some of that was dysfunction. We couldn't always use our money to move away, which should have allowed us to move. They couldn't pick their schools that they wanted. They couldn't always buy the house they could afford. They couldn't always fully escape the lowest behavior in the community because segregation trapped every black person behind the same wall. And once segregation began to fall, black people's money started taking them as far as their money could go. If they could afford a better neighborhood, they moved. If they could afford better school district, they moved. If they could afford private school, they used it. If they could afford a safer subdivision, a safer location, they bought into it. If they could afford a different lifestyle, they chose it. And once that happened, the old social controls start breaking down. And that's why you can't shame people the same way anymore. You might call somebody all these names online, but you'll never see them in real life. You'll never live near them. You'll never eat where they eat. You'll never vacation where they vacation. You don't send your kids to their same school. You don't belong to the same professional circles. You don't have the same access. You might be screaming on Facebook, but they're at a resort, at a conference, or a golf course, in a private lounge, at a business dinner, or on a flight to somewhere you are never going to go. And so your insult doesn't reach their real life. And I know that sounds very elitist, but it's true. Money separates people. Education separates people. Marriage separates people. Neighborhood separate people. School choice separates people. Professional licenses separate people. And once people move into different social classes, they stop caring about the approval of people who aren't living in that reality. And that's what we're dealing with. A black person who's built a stable life isn't going to destroy that life to prove loyalty to black people who haven't built anything. You hear me? A black parent who's raising children in a safe neighborhood isn't going to teach those children to embrace chaos just to satisfy people online. A black business owner isn't going to risk contracts and reputation and licensing and income to defend foolishness. And a black professional isn't going to throw away a career because somebody with no career called him a sellout. And another thing people don't want to admit is that black people's social worlds are more mixed than they used to be. Look, man, are we going to deal with reality? Or are we going to keep playing? I'm just asking. I'm asking. Are we going to deal with reality? Somebody typed the Great Divide in the chat room. That's what these cases have done. Somebody typed Boule in the chat room. Somebody typed sellout, Coon, Sambo. Let's get all these names in. That's what they're going to call you. But do you care? As you pull off in your Mercedes-Benz and you look at your 401k, do you really care? Because again, it's more of us than there is of them now. So do we care what the poor black people have to say? Do the 80% of black people who reach, 83% of black people who have become upper middle class, or rich care what the 17% of broke black people think? Do you care? Do you care what poor black people have to say? I'm just asking questions. All the rich black people, if you've reached the middle class, upper middle class, or you rich, do you care what the poor 17% of black people have to say? Huh? I'm asking. Because, see, I think there's a misunderstanding here. I don't think they realize who understands who's really running things now. See, we got the loudest, lowest contingent of black people speaking the loudest to the world, and they don't represent us. We have done our best to escape them, and every time some degenerate behavior pops up, they want us to jump up and defend it. Do we care? Do you care that they call you boule or a sellout? Do you care that they call you a Sambo? Do you care that any of that? I'm just pointing it out. Because they usually use it for shame. The true sellouts are the gangbangers and the drug dealers. That's the true sellouts as far as I'm concerned. It's not the plumber who doesn't want to come back to the hood and work for free. It's not the HVAC guy who doesn't want to get involved in what's going on with these court cases. It's not the lawyer who defended Rick Chow either. That man is just an expert in his profession. So you saying that all our professionals shouldn't serve people? If it doesn't please black people, is that what you're saying? So we have black medical doctors, and this is somebody who might have some racist belief. They shouldn't serve them. They should check on the internet to see if they've made any racist tweets. Is that what you're saying? Just ignore all the ethics and morals and professionalism. Just that's what y'all saying. I'm asking the question. And another thing, let's get back to it now. Are y'all still here? 'Cause I'm gonna wrap this thing up. And then, another thing, we have to admit, black people's social worlds are more mixed than they used to be. Pew reported that the share of recently married black people with a spouse of a different race or ethnicity rose from 5% in 1980 to 18% in 2015. That's a major change. Even for black people who aren't married out, many of them have friends in work circles, in school circles, in business networks, in neighborhoods that include white people, Latino, Asians, immigrants, mixed race people, and people from all different backgrounds. So when somebody says you need to get down with the black community, a lot of people are asking, which black community are you talking about? The one I live in, the one I work in, or the one that's online? Somebody type black Twitter in the chat room. You want me to get down with the one that rejected me and told me I talk white? Or I was bougie or boule? That's who you want me to get with? I'm asking. Just asking. I'm asking questions. Because, see, you can't turn around and reject somebody and say, oh, you acting bougie or you too light-skinned, and then turn around and expect them to join in with you. That's not how it works. Either we all in or we all out. See, a lot of these folk only claim you when you're useful. And that matters even more when you talk about mixed race black people and foundational black Americans. Foundational black Americans, by our very history, are an amalgamated people. We're people created through slavery, survival, violence, mixing, migration, intermarriage, and generations of complicated family history. And I say complicated with an asterisk. What I'm saying is many of us have white ancestry, Native American ancestry, Asian ancestry. And today, many black people have immediate white parents and grandparents and Asian parents and Latino parents and immigrant parents or grandparents from other racial ethnic backgrounds. So how are you going to shame those people into one size fits all black identity when many of them have already been ostracized by the black community? I'm just asking questions. You've told them they're not black. But now you're shaming them because they're not black or because they're not down with the black community and the degeneracy that you want us to support. That's hypocrisy. Some black people will tell a mixed person, you're not really black. They'll tell a light-skinned person, you're not really black. They'll tell a biracial person, you're not one of us. They'll tell a person raised around non-black people, you don't understand the culture. But then when there's a political fight or a racial controversy, suddenly it's you need to stand with the people. That doesn't work anymore. People aren't falling for that. You can't reject people socially, then demand their loyalty politically. You can't mock people for how they talk or where they live or who they marry or who their parents are or what school they went to or what job they have and then expect them to show up when you want racial solidarity. That's not community. That's convenience. I'm going to tell it like it is. And this is the burden of freedom. Again, during segregation, black people carried the burden of being forced together. Whether you're light skinned, dark skinned, whether you from Haiti or Ghana, whether you from Trinidad or Canada, y'all got sent, everybody got sent to the black community. That's what happened during the segregation. Black people carried the burden of being forced together. Whether you were a convict or a judge, y'all lived down the street from each other. We were locked into in racial enclaves because white society blocked access. But after desegregation, the black people started dealing with a different burden, the burden of choice. Now we can choose where to live. We can choose who to marry. We can choose where to send our children. We can choose what schools to attend. We can choose what value system we want to follow. And a lot of black people are choosing separation. Black men are choosing separation. Black women are choosing separation. Mixed race black people are choosing separation. Educated black people are choosing separation. Wealthy black people are choosing separation. Professionals are choosing separation. Some are doing it quietly and some are doing it loudly. Some are doing it by moving. Some are doing it by marrying out. Some are doing it by changing schools. Some are doing it by changing countries. Some are doing it by changing politics. But however they're doing it, they're doing it. And that's why this great black divide is getting wider. And that's not just about money. It's about politics. It's not just about crime. And it's not just about my friend Willie D and Uncle D, also known as me, Dennis Spurling. It's about the fact that black people are no longer trapped in one shared social space. The old black community had enough control to shame people into silence, and the new black America doesn't. The new black America is scattered across the suburbs and professions and interracial families and mixed friend groups, private schools, gated communities, different politics, different churches, and different value systems. So you can call these people all you want. Somebody type Boule in the chat room. Call them Boule. Call them cool. Call them. They don't care. They don't live with you. They don't work with you. They don't worship with you. They don't date you. They don't want to date your daughters or your sisters or your sons. They don't need your approval. They don't need your network, and they don't need your permission to be black. And that's why what you see happening right now, a lot of black people coming out the woodwork saying, nah, I don't accept that. That's why you get these same old tricks, this same old shaming language. But you can't control people who moved away. You can't build unity with people who spent years insulating and rejecting, and you can't do it. Black America is not one block anymore. Black America is not one forced social structure or anymore. And that's what you're seeing now. People are exiting the old expectations. They're exiting the old racial scripts. They're exiting the idea that black people means defending dysfunction. And once enough black people exit, the old gatekeepers lose power. And that's why you see them screaming and hollering online. Again, Black America exposed by this Karmelo Anthony case and the Cyrus Carmack-Belton case. That's what you see happening. Now, I'm going to take the time to read some of these super chats. And I first want to thank everybody who contributed to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Thank you for your patience. And let me go ahead and start off with Afro Thunder. We got 30 Super Chats. It's been great. I'm 50. He says here, I'm sorry, you guys. He says, it's been extremely concerning to see the amount of grown men speaking about this case from emotion and not facts. If these are the men raising boys, it's no wonder why Black community is in chaos. Keep telling the truth. Look, man, anytime somebody says, I feel, somebody type I feel in the chat room. Somebody type I feel. Anytime I'm discussing something with somebody, and they type I feel, I'm automatically recognizing that I'm not dealing with somebody who is dealing with the facts of the case. Okay? I'm automatically dealing with somebody who is working on emotion. You can't talk to people like that. Okay? But yeah, that's very observant, and this is what we're dealing with. Next up, thank you so much, Brian Turner. There's a lot of beta weakling energy among the talking points of males defending Karmelo, emotional dudes who defend unnecessary violence. Would they want somebody to? What if somebody accidentally pushes you, and you end up getting stabbed and they don't go to prison? How'd that make you feel? You see what I mean? I'm just saying, man, you can't do that in a civilized society. We can't have people out here stabbing people because they pushed them. It's not gonna work. I'm just saying. And I guess it would be easier for folk to understand if it was two Black kids, we realize just how senseless that level of violence was. But because of, the historical relationship, the racial relationships in this country, folk don't want to deal with that. But it's crazy because the truth is, Karmelo, if this is how he responds to something as simple as a push and being asked to leave a tent, so this young brother was a ticking time bomb. And more likely than not, his victim would have been another Black man or Black woman. So it was just something waiting to happen, man. That's not cool. And that's something people don't want to talk about, but I'm gonna talk about it. Shout out to Brian Turner, go Jags. Shout out to the SU Jaguars. Also, keep teaching, sir. I will. Thank you, Hoss Martin. Let me see here. Soniac, both parents should have trained their sons. Don't start none, won't be none, and both sons will be alive today. Yeah, but the thing is, Sonia, people are going to pick on you. If your boss picks on you, you just gonna haul off and stab him? If somebody pushes you, you gonna do that? I mean, don't you think at what point is it a little overreacting? Because adults do that to people. I mean, you gonna just throw your life away on some ego tripping? Because that's really what this is about. I'm just saying, fam, you can't do that. You got to control yourself in this society. Thank you so much, though, Sonia. Hideo Maximus, facts without context is propaganda. Thank you so much. FBA News, bro, keep up the good work, B1. I will, man. I'm going to keep telling the truth, whether people like it or not. Keep on doing it. HB, FT8T, ignore the haters. Some people are too ignorant to understand the difference between public law and actual law. Thank you so much. Yes, the street law don't apply, but the pew should have got the parents too. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Dennis, I'm so glad you challenged those who thought Karmelo was in the right. You were so cool and calm while they were emotional with no facts. Proud of you. Thank you so much, Brown Eyes 4237. I appreciate you. And I'm gonna do I'm always speak. I wish we had more people who were brave enough to speak the truth. But a lot of folk want to be cool. I don't want to be cool. I want to be accurate. I want to be a person with integrity. I want you all to respect me for the fact that I told you the truth when everybody lied to you. I mean, I'm the friend to tell you that your breath stinks right before we go to the club and you need to brush your teeth. And it just so happened to be the night that you met your wife or husband and you didn't meet him with funky breath. Who do you owe that relationship? Me. I'm the person saving your life. And I wish we had more truth tellers out there, but the truth teller, you're not gonna have a lot of friends. I'm gonna keep speaking the truth, you know. But I appreciate all you guys. Let me go ahead and keep reading. Thank you so much, Brown Eyes. Just for my 2 cents, the great separation. Thank you so much for the $20. Fredo 3161, rap culture has been devastating not only to the black community, especially young men, but society in general. People are beyond tired. Everybody's tired of the degenerate culture. Like, let's understand something. Art reflects life. Okay, what I'm saying is these people who started off writing rap songs, they were talking about their experiences, especially like back in the day, Geto Boys, Willie D, NWA. They were talking about their experiences. They were just literally writing down what they experienced. Now, of course, it could have been some embellishment here and there. We used to have this term called studio gangsters, some embellishment, but the truth is they were closer to, you know, what some of these people were experiencing. Not all the time. But lately, it's just been like they just glorifying. There's a difference between telling a story and glorifying the harm. And, you know, at this point, man, it was reflecting the culture, but now it's feeding the culture and it needs to be dealt with. Now, again, I'm all for First Amendment rights, but golly, at some point we need to stop consuming this. Where's the appetite coming from? Okay, let's keep that in mind. Kenneth Williams, thanks. He says for the content. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Who else do we have here? William Lynch, double tap the screen, like, subscribe. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the channel if you hadn't already. Mark the Sambo, paying his tribute. Yeah, man, look, somebody type Boule. Please do. If Boule means that I'm going to be able to raise my children and live to be a ripe old age and have my own house, my own business, and be able to fly, come and go, and leave this country when I want to, I'm going to go ahead and be that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be a sellout, a boule. I'm gonna go ahead. It means I'm gonna stay out of the penitentiary. I'm gonna do that. Okay, y'all can have all the rest of that value system. I don't want it. And most people with good sense, the 83% of black people who are upper middle class, rich, don't want to deal with it. Y'all can have that. Y'all can keep hold of that. Just my 2 cents. I know an old black guy in the hood building an ark. He calls himself Noah. He claims his God is going to flood the hood. Yeah, man, crazy. That's another thing. When you live in the ghetto, it's a lot of people with mental issues down there. Not saying it's just germane to the hood, but I mean, that's the lowest rung of people, man. You don't want to live around that. Do you want to raise your kids around that? Absolutely not. It's just trauma around every corner. But thank you so much. Big J said, I'm late. So you're showing us these videos trying to make a correlation between degenerate behavior and Karmelo. I respectfully disagree with you, Dennis. I'm actually shocked that you're taking this position, fam. What I'm saying is, brother, Karmelo Anthony had a knife on him at school. Number one, you breaking the rule. And then when you draw the correlation between that and Cyrus Carmack, this is another teenager, 14-year-old boy. You might have missed the part. You have to look at the whole video, but you missed the part where we talked about how there's been so much killing going on in the black community in Columbia, South Carolina. If you just look at the 56 square miles of black community, there's been 8 people killed in every square mile. And so when the jury looked at the fact that we got another 14, and the average age for a person shot in Columbia, South Carolina is 19. What that means is this 5 black people on that jury looked at this and say, enough is enough. We don't like Rick Chow, but this sort of degenerate behavior has to stop. And again, Karmelo Anthony was a good kid. He hadn't had any issues, but he's still subject to that culture. Just like we got a lot of rappers, a lot of school teachers who think they're strippers. We got a lot of professionals who want to act like rappers and drug dealers. You could be an engineer and he around here with his pants sagging off. So, you can't necessarily escape that degenerate culture just because you move out of it. It's the value system. And so it's that young man's value system. Okay, de-escalation, walk away. These are part of the value system. And so that's what I meant, Big J. But thank you so much for your participation. I appreciate you. Hopefully you get a chance to review the entire video, and I appreciate your criticism. And we don't always have to agree on everything, but this is just my observations. And there's empirical data to back up what I'm saying. Thank you so much, Bob Vest. Black culture is a real systematic racism. No, black culture is the survival system that black Americans use so that we can exist in this system where we're surrounded by people. And the culture is basically a people's operating system so in which they can live. Black American culture is a survival system. It's a system designed, whether we're talking about the food that we crafted to eat, soul food, which is basically pig slop and throwaway, and we turn that into culinary treats so, that we could live. Black music, they said we didn't have any souls and we were soulless human beings, so we came up with soul music to expose our soul. The way in which we have extended families, grandma, big mama, sometimes, aunties, everybody had to step in because oftentimes the fathers were sold away, the mothers were sold away. So somebody in the black community, and we go back to the slave plantation, even after slavery ended, people had to move long distances away. So everything was dependent on big mama, or grandma, or Tyler Perry has these movies out called Madeira, where the main character is Madeira. But the bottom line is black culture is not systematic racism. Racism is a system designed to, uplift one group of people based on their race and push down another group of people. So that's a different, you kind of like comparing rocket ships to fried chicken. It's just, but thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Bob Vest, white people have been getting lumped together for a while. Yeah, well, white people lump themselves together. White people have a very distinctive culture. There's the Irish, there's the Scottish, there's the English, and then you have other groups. You have the Danes, you have Denmark, Norway, Sweden. You have Polish people, which are basically Eastern European people. You have people from Romania. You got people from Italy. These are people who are totally different. You got Russians, which is, to me, not Europe, but Asia. White people lump themselves together because, it benefited the elite. Well, we'll all just be white. Yeah, I know you're from Italy, you're from Poland, you're Jewish, you're from Scandinavia. Well, we're just going to call you white because it's convenient that way. But you fell for it. White people fell for it. I'm actually going to do a broadcast on that. I'm going to talk because Europe is burning, and I want to explain the effect that white supremacy has had on white people. You've abandoned your rich culture to be white in America. And that's the real travesty in this situation. White people had a rich, when I say white people, I'm talking about white Northern Europeans, Polish people. You have a rich culture. You gave up all of that, your food, your language, your customs, your stories to be white. Okay. And that's the problem. So you lumped yourself together. And so now you're suffering the consequences of it. It's unfortunate, but I think we all like the Irish, but then when they come over here, they've embraced racism, and now hell, the KKK didn't even like the Irish, but you guys have embraced the racism, and it's the problem. But let's keep pushing. Thank you so much, Bob. It's crazy how you're still trying to make a correlation between degenerate black culture and Carmelo. Do you know better than this, Dennis? And this is very irresponsible respect. Well, Big J, you're entitled to disagree, but Karmelo Anthony stabbed somebody because they pushed him. And in the black community, respect, right? This warped sense of respect is so pervasive that people will shoot you for stepping on their shoes. They will gangbang on you for wearing the wrong color, being wrong, raised in the wrong neighborhood. So we got to deal with that. You see, that's what we have to deal with. Where did it come from? It didn't just start in the suburbs of Collin County, Texas. You see, this is what we have to deal with. And unless we deal with it and do better, guess what's going to happen? It's going to keep repeating. Again, as I say all the time, there's no geographical solution for an emotional problem. And what we have in the black community is we have a vein of degeneracy that we've accepted. Now, it's hard to hear, but it's truthful. But thank you so much. I appreciate you again, Big J. Mark the Freelance, Mark the Sambo Strikes again. Thank you so much. Also, Perfect Blackness, amazing. After all these decades, we're still telling ourselves to turn the other cheek and gladly accept the equal application of the law. No, what we're doing, brother, is I'm never telling you not to defend yourself. I'm telling you to use proportional force. But sometimes you do have to walk away. Sometimes you do have to say, nah, you got to pick and choose when it's time to fight. And sometimes you just got to walk away. Otherwise, guess what? You can lose it all. Are you hanging out with your wife and it's a bunch of dudes disrespecting you and calling you out your name and you see you surrounded? Are you going to pull out your pistol and shoot one of them because they disrespected you? Where is that going to leave you? Well, it's going to put you in handcuffs. You're going to have a hearing, an arraignment. You're going to have a bail hearing. It's going to cost you about, depending on if the person dies or not, it's going to cost you about $50,000 to $100,000 for a lawyer to get started if you want a good one. Okay, so sometimes turning the other cheek is a smart thing to do. Sometimes you got to tuck your ego and go about your business so you can live. That's all I'm saying, all right? And I think it's an intelligent thing to do, in my opinion. Mr. Spurling, keep doing your thing. Anybody with common sense knows Karmelo was going to prison. His parents should have fought for manslaughter. Yeah, that whole situation is just tragic. I hate it. He seemed to be a good kid, didn't have any issues, not any past any normal kid, you know. I mean, he didn't have a criminal record. He might have gotten some mischief. You know, it's just upsetting. And I think that's why we're talking about it, because we're not talking about some bad kid. He was a good kid. He was in football. He was in track. He had parents that cared about him. And this is what makes it a tragedy. But again, unless you teach your children self-control, doesn't matter where you put them, unless you begin to explain to them that they need to value life, that they shouldn't be so adamant. Because again, they were both under there talking stuff to each other. I believe that Karmelo told, you under somebody else's tent, you play football for another team, you under somebody else's tent, and you telling them, hey, your team is ass, you expect to get a response. So, you know, again, back and forth banter, it shouldn't have led to this. This is a tragedy all the way around. But thank you so much. Big J, again, where's the correlation between this, Karmelo? I think I've answered that a couple of times, but thank you so much. I agree with Uncle D 99 of the time, but I do think it's irresponsible to apply poor black culture that does exist to Karmelo Anthony. Well, when you start looking at Karmelo Anthony's history and where his parents came from, and kind of look at a little bit of, and I don't want to speak disparagingly of anybody, but just look into their history. We all have relatives like that move out to suburbs, and then unfortunately, they take some of that with them. You know, are you one of these folk that tell your children if somebody hits you, you hit them back harder? Can't do that in the suburbs. You can't do that around them white folks. They're not going for it. It's just a reality. That might work in the ghetto, but doesn't work anywhere else. So just think about that. What advice are you going to give your children? Okay? You have to think about that, especially knowing what we know and where we live. Shout out to Terrell Steps. Everton, he said, congratulations on the recent milestone over your shoulder. All the best to you and yours. Thank you so much. I appreciate you too, family. Good looking out. 99 Problems Stupid. Being called a racist used to fire me up because I knew those people were full of crap. Now I expect to be called racist. Yeah, people have called people racist so much it doesn't even have any effect anymore. Everything was racism. And so now nobody cares about being called racist. And see, that's what happens when you overuse that word. It should be, there's an old fable called The Boy Who Cried Wolf. And that's what we're dealing with. You know, everything is not racist. Some people, I had this case, I was probably a third-year lawyer. Third-year lawyer, I was working at this law firm down in New Orleans, and I had a deposition. And there was this old white guy who came from the North Shore. People from New Orleans know what I'm talking about. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I had been practicing law for 3 years, but my first year, I was working on my LLM. My second year, I was a law clerk. So this is actually my first year as a litigating attorney that litigates cases. And I'm thinking this guy's just racist. Oh, he's racist. He's bigot. And then I realized after taking the deposition and him correcting me several times very sternly, you know, one time I objected and he's like, that's not my client. I can't. In other words, you're stupid. Maybe it wasn't that he was racist. Maybe I just didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And he was annoyed at me. Maybe that's what it was. Okay. So that caused me some great pause, and I had to think, maybe it's not racism. Maybe it's just my incompetence at that time, being basically a fresh out the gate litigator. And I didn't know what I was doing that he found annoying. So again, if you use racism as a crutch, anything you use as a crutch will become it. If you make excuses for every issue you have, that's going to become your crutch, whether it's racism, whether it's I'm handicapped, whether it's I didn't go to the best school, whether it's I don't know how to do this subject very well, it's going to become your handicap. Okay? That's going to be your crutch. I learned that a long time ago. Thank you so much. DJ Jammin' Jimmy, only black people can make black people great again. Good point. Thank you so much. Also, I usually agree with you, but I think that you've been rich for so long that you're out of touch with your own people. Tonight's broadcast has nothing to do with Karmelo trial and how he was set up respectfully. I don't think Karmelo was set up, brother. I think he stabbed somebody in front of 20 people, and that person died, and you know, he admitted that he did it, and there's video footage, and I don't think that was a setup. I think that was a mistake. I think it was an emotional outburst. I think it was a lack of self-control, but that happens. But I don't think it was a setup. I don't think somebody, and if you mean setup like somebody set him up to kill somebody, I don't think that's it, brother. I'd have to review what you're saying. Again, Big J, for all the people talking and agreeing, we still don't have the full facts of the case because they hid a lot, including the full clear video. Again, I've had conversations with people about this video, and I don't believe the video exists. I believe if there was actually a video, I think it would have come forth by now. I think that's just internet rumor. And what if you get the video and it actually depicts clearer what the prosecution said he was doing? Maybe if have you thought about that? Maybe if there is a video, they didn't want it to come out because it's not good for Karmelo. Maybe that's the same reason they didn't want him to testify. Just think about it, okay? Everything happened the way it happened for a reason. And if the public knows about this video, don't you think the lawyers know about it? But thank you so much again, Big J. If Karmelo's result was just then, why did the jury have to have no black people? Wouldn't it have been fair as far as the jury goes? Why no black? Well, again, I think the jury, an all black jury, would have come to the same conclusion because the evidence was overwhelming. But, you know, there is a technical deficiency in the jury because, you know, there's a Batson challenge that may be available. But the bottom line is, man, he killed somebody. And you're not going to be able to get around that. I mean, I don't see how we get around that. It's just not going to happen. But thank everybody for the super chats, the cash apps, and the PayPals. I appreciate you guys. I think I got one cash app here from, let me see here. I got one cash app from one person. I'll see if I can pull it up. Let me see here. From Anna Brown. Thank you. Good message. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Now let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. And we will go ahead and get this thing out of here. Now, so here's the thing. Where do we go from here? Because it's not enough for me to just sit here and talk about the divide. It's not enough to say Black America is divided. It's not enough to say the old shaming language doesn't work anymore. Okay? It's not enough to say we tired of crime and the chaos and dysfunction and tired of being told that we've got to defend everything Black people do just because the person doing it is Black. At some point, family, at some point, we got to move from diagnosis to solution, okay? And the first solution is truth. We got to tell the truth even when it hurts. We got to tell the truth about racism, but we've also got to tell the truth about behavior, okay? We got to tell the truth about the court system, but we got to also tell the truth about personal decision. We've got to tell the truth about unfair policing, but we've also have to tell the truth about teenage gun culture. And we got to tell the truth about prosecutors, judges, and juries, but we also have to tell the truth about what our children are doing before they ever get to court. And see, the second solution is discipline. And I know that's not a sexy word. Discipline doesn't get applause like outrage does. Discipline doesn't go viral like anger does. But discipline is what keeps people alive. Discipline is what keeps boys from turning into defendants. Discipline is what keeps girls from being pulled into chaos. Discipline is what keeps families stable. Discipline is what tells a child to walk away. Your pride isn't worth your freedom. Your anger isn't worth your life, and your ego isn't worth 35 years in prison. The third solution is family. We got to rebuild family structure. I'm not saying every family has to look the same. I'm not saying you got to go try to get some people you don't like and bring them back in. I'm not saying every married household is perfect. But I am saying children need structure. They need adults, they need rules, they need correction. They need stern fathers. They need loving mothers who participate and cooperate. They need grandparents. They need uncles. They need coaches. They need teachers. They need somebody in their life who's willing to say no and mean it. And the fourth solution is law. Black people have to understand the law before the law is used against us. We've got to stop learning criminal law from YouTubers and celebrities and emotional commenters. Just because you're ignorant of the law doesn't mean that you can ignore it. Self-defense doesn't mean somebody touch me so I can do anything. That's ghetto culture. If you found yourself saying something like, you touch me, and that doesn't give you the right to take somebody's life. No duty to retreat doesn't mean duty not to think. And being scared doesn't automatically justify deadly force. Being disrespected doesn't give you permission to destroy your life. If we don't teach our children what the law actually says, then the prosecutors and the judges and the juries and the prison guards will teach them. Now, the fifth solution is standards. Somebody type standards in the chat room. We've got to bring standards back without apologizing for them. It's not anti-Black to expect your children to behave. And it's not anti-Black to say 14-year-olds shouldn't have guns and 17-year-olds shouldn't have knives on campus. It's not anti-Black to say teenagers shouldn't stab people over pride. And it's not anti-Black to say parents need to know where their children are and what they're carrying. It's not anti-Black to say education matters, work matters, property matters, ownership matters, and self-control matters. That's not white supremacy, that's survival. Now, the sixth solution is community protection. We've got to stop confusing community protection with criminal protection. Protecting Black people and our reputation doesn't mean protecting everybody in the community who commits something, some atrocious act. You understand? What about protecting our children who want to learn? What about protecting the elders who want peace? What about protecting the families who pay rent and mortgages? And protecting business owners who keep their doors open in the Black community? Or protecting working people who get up every day and fix your plumbing and your electrical and drive trucks and do things the right way? See, protecting the Black community means protecting the people who are trying to build, not the people who keep tearing everything down. I live in the Black community. All my Black neighbors, all my neighbors are Black. I got a couple of Latinos and a couple of white folks around here, but I live in a largely Black community. And we all want peace. We are hardworking, law-abiding citizens from various backgrounds throughout the United States. And we don't want folk coming over here tearing it down. Now, the seventh solution is economic separation when necessary. Everybody doesn't get access just because they're black. Everybody doesn't get to bring chaos to your door because they're black. Everybody doesn't get to destroy your school, your neighborhood, your business, or your peace, or your family because they're black. If people don't share your values, you don't have to share your space. If people don't respect order, you don't have to let them into what you've built. If people are committed to dysfunction, you don't have to pretend that dysfunction is community. And the final solution is courage. Because see, a lot of black people already believe what I'm saying. They just whisper it. You say it at home. They say it in private. They say it in the car after church. They say it after a meeting. They say it at the kitchen table. They say it when the camera's off. But y'all wouldn't have got on. I ain't seen a black lawyer yet who did what I did. Went on Willie D. Willie D got like over 1 million subscribers. And I got people mad at me right now for saying what I said. I had a judge friend of mine saying, man, they supposed to not like you. You gonna make them not like you. They supposed to like us if they want us to represent them, right? He was speaking to me as a lawyer. See, a lot of lawyers, especially black lawyers, are scared to say publicly because they don't want to be called coons and sellouts and Uncle Toms and anti-blacks and boulets. They don't want to be told that they're out of touch, right? But see, those things only work if you let them work. And see, I'm grown. And see, grown people like myself have learned to stop being controlled by childish insults. Somebody type courage in the chat room. So commend me for my courage. Commend me for calling out the degeneracy in the black community. Again, I live in a black community. I am a double HBCU graduate. I have 3 black sons. You understand what I'm saying? I am from the black ghettos of South Central Los Angeles. I went to Manual Arts High School. Shout out to all my LA people. I went to Manual Arts High School, the most ghetto school in LA at the time. So I know everything we need to know about Black America. And I'm telling you exactly why we are divided. See, the solution isn't for Black America to pretend we're not divided. We are divided. The solution is to decide what kind of black future we're going to try to build. Are we trying to build a future based on excuses and emotion and racial guilt? Are we trying to build a future based on truth, discipline, family, education, ownership, safety, law, and responsibility? Because I'll tell you right now, I'm not interested in blackness that requires me to defend dysfunction. I'm not interested in a blackness that says I've got to ignore facts. I'm not interested in blackness that tells me I've got to lie to children to prove loyalty. I'm not interested in blackness that says protecting criminals is the same as protecting the community. That's not black power. That's black failure. Real black power is building families. Real black power is raising children who don't end up in court. Real black power is owning homes and businesses and land and institutions. Real black power is understanding that the law, before the law controls you. Real black power is telling your son, walk away, making sure he understands why. And real black power is telling your daughter, choose better. baby girl. Your body is precious. Not everybody should have access to it. Making sure she knows she deserves better. That's real Black power. It's correcting our people before the world punishes them. And that's where we have to go. We don't need any more slogans. We don't need any more hashtags. We don't need any more fake outrage. We don't need any more celebrities telling us what feels good. We don't need, we need standards. We need courage. We need honesty. We need adults back in the room. We need Black men back in their families. We need Black women supporting those Black men for the common good. We need Black children back under correction. We need Black communities that reward order and reject chaos. So let me close it this way. Black America is divided, but division isn't always bad. Sometimes division exposes what people really believe. Sometimes division separates builders from destroyers. Sometimes division separates people who want progress from people who want excuses. Sometimes division is necessary because everybody can't go where the serious people are trying to go. And if the choice is between being called names by people defending dysfunction or telling the truth to help save Black children, I'll take the names. Call me whatever you want. I'm telling you, I'm still going to tell the truth. I'm still going to stand on law, facts, discipline, family, and survival. Because at the end of the day, our children don't need more excuses. We don't need any more Cyrus Beltons or Karmelo Anthonys. Or all the numerous Black children that have been unalived by other Black people. Our children need a way out. And the way out starts with telling them the truth before the world teaches them the hard way. This is Uncle D. God bless you all. I love you. Thank you all for the time you spent with me this evening. And as I always say at this time, I'm out.
In the Spurling podcast, hit the like button, subscribe.
Mm-hmm.